Hello, everybody. I am Trisha Hirschberger, and I'm so excited to welcome you to today's special CORSAIR live stream event. I see so many of you in chat. Thank you so much for joining us. To everyone across the world on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and of course the Origin PC channels as well. We have a super packed schedule for today. So we'll be announcing some brand new products, and you will be the first in the world to see them live. Huzzah. We've also got a ton of exclusive giveaways planned all throughout the stream, including some gear from our friends at AMD and Asus. The giveaways will get better and better as the stream goes on. So make sure that you stick around for the whole thing. And of course, there's going to be a really big surprise at the end of the show. So you will not want to miss that. Hi, everybody in chat. And of course, we'll also be connecting with Origin PC headquarters in Miami, Florida, for a very special live build segment with the Origin PC team, Lewis and PJ, who I believe might already be here on the call. Hi, Lewis and PJ.
Hey, Trisha, how's it going?
How are you guys?
Well, we can't wait to do the live build for you guys in an hour or so.
Well.
As you can see, we have all the parts here, I think, right?
We're doing a live build?
Yeah, we're doing a live build. It's happening.
Yes. Okay, cool. Well, I am here for the live build. Thank you guys for stopping in to say what's up, and we'll see you just a little bit later in the stream. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, so last part of our schedule that I want to mention real quick. We are doing this live for a reason. So go ahead and ask us questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them during the Q&A session, which will be a little bit later in the live stream. So now I would like to introduce our special guests. Joining us today, we have the wonderful Jay's 2 Cents. Now, you might know Jay from his YouTube channel where he covers PC hardware, liquid cooling, and more. Jay, I see you're here. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
This is going to be really fun. And also joining us today is George Makris, CORSAIR's Director of Marketing for Components. Now, George has been with CORSAIR for 17 years and has a vast knowledge of CORSAIR products and the PC industry. So thanks for joining us today, George. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to see you guys. I'm pretty stoked about this. So we'll talk about some new stuff.
I know you're the man with all the surprises right now. So it's a good place to be.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. You get some really cool stuff to show today. So I can't wait to talk about it. I'm really, really excited.
Cool. Okay. Well, to everyone out there in the stream, if you have any questions for us, again, please go ahead and throw them into chat. We do have moderators that are going to pull some of those questions out, and later we will have a live Q&A with both George and Jay. So get your questions in now. Okay. So I did mention that George had some surprises for us today, the man with all the info. Let's get right into our first product announcement. George, where do you want to start?
Well, I think before we talk about it, we should probably roll some footage. Do you want to roll some tape?
Let's go ahead and do it.
All right.
Well, that's it. That is massive. Oh my goodness. George, tell us about this new case.
This is the 7000D. So you guys know we had the 4000 and the 5000 and the 7000 series. This is the 7000, so it's our new full tower case. It's our first full tower in a long time. The last full tower we did, I think, was 750D, 760C, 780T back in like 2014, 2015 timeframe. So we've been riding the full tower wave for a while. Obviously, mid towers have been really, really popular, and everyone's kind of moving into slightly more compact designs. But 4000 series, which we launched last year, already like the best-selling mid tower on the market. Some people wanted a little more room, so we came with 5000 series. And then some people like me have giant, like kind of, human head-sized hands. So we want to have a little bit bigger case to work in. So 7000 series is perfect for that.
I mean, George, I have Hobbit-sized hands, and I'm still stoked about having a bigger case to work in. Plus that cable management, too. I saw that in the trailer. Jay, what are your first impressions?
So I'm a huge full tower fan. We were talking about this with George a while back, that one of the first Corsair full towers I ever built in was a 900D, and I fell in love with that case, and I still have it. Yeah, I kind of feel like he was saying, a lot of the trends went towards mid tower and ITX, but I like a good full size tower that doesn't cramp your style. Like, you can build in it however you want to.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I like about big cases is, if you ever have to do cable routing in a mini ITX case, you spend almost as much time like doing the cable routing and zip tying and winding up if you don't do custom sleeve cables as you do actually building the PC. So it's obnoxious for me. I know a lot of guys kind of use that as their zen and meditation kind of thing, but for me, it's just like I just want to hit the power button and get moving. So this is like cable routing cheat mode. Just put them in there, slam the door shut, and go to work.
Oh man, I love to hear it. George, can you tell us a little bit about where the new 7000 series kind of fits in with the Corsair family, like 4000, 5000, and 7000?
Yeah, we actually recently learned to count. So we went from 4, then 5, and then of course 7, which comes after 5. No, realistically, it's basically all of our full size cases have been 7, 8s, or 9 series cases for the most part, with the exception being the 1000D, which is kind of a special dual system chassis that we've done a one-off with. But realistically, we've had our first case, the 800D, which was our first full tower ever. And then we had the 900D, which, like Jay mentioned, is a bigger version of that had more water cooling capacity. The 7000 series kind of sits on top of our lineup as, if you want to do custom water cooling and you want flexibility to mount radiators on almost every flat surface, this is the case that you would purchase, unless you want to go crazy on the 1000D. But the 7000D is really the more kind of mainstream version of that. And it has some cool, useful features like, the door to cover the cables and the extra room for 480s and 420s. So if you want to do like 140 based radiators, like, 140, 280, 420, this is probably our most fully featured case for that. You can mount a 420 on the front or on top. You can mount a 480 on the front or on the side there. So it just gives you a lot of options.
I love to hear options, especially when you're customizing your build. I know, Jay, you have definitely worked with more than one of the cases in Corsair's new family of cases. What do you think about the family?
Well, I mean, they all obviously share the same design philosophy, which is kind of neat about it, because I built several 5000Ds, 4000D, and fortunately I've had the opportunity to get my hands on a 7000D already. It just feels like each one sort of scales up from the next, where a lot of the feature sets are kind of carry over from case to case, the aesthetics obviously. But like George said, it's been a long time since I've been able to fit a 480 radiator in a case natively without having to bust out a Dremel or something. And not only can you do that in this case, you have multiple options of where to place it. So that, to me, that's what's exciting about it, because I'm all about the big cases, the oversized water cooling, just going, bigger than you need to, because at that point, for me, it's a hobby. It's fun to just sort of build and see what you can come up with. And having a case that doesn't limit your options, to me, is really important anyway.
That's awesome. So for everybody here, we know that we will have another product to reveal later in the show, so make sure that you stay tuned. But now that we've announced our first product, let's go ahead and kick off our first giveaway. I can see everybody in chat is super hyped for that as well. So we're going to celebrate the launch of our 7000 series cases with an exclusive worldwide giveaway. That's another question people were asking in chat earlier. Is it international? This is a worldwide giveaway. For your chance to win, please go ahead and use the link posted by our mods in the chat to sign up for your chance to take home a beautiful white Corsair iQ 7000X RGB full tower case. Now, if you can't see the link, you can visit originpc.com/Corsair Live. Again, that's originpc.com/Corsair Live for all of the details. Now, this is the first of multiple giveaways that you'll see throughout the stream today, so make sure you stick around for the other giveaways, and our mods will be able to clear up any questions that you might have about the giveaways. Remember, you have roughly 30 minutes to enter at this point for your chance to win, and this is a worldwide giveaway. For the rules, terms, and conditions, please check the official rules tab in the giveaway widget. And good luck, everyone. Now let's learn a little bit more about this new series of cases. So, George, these are full tower cases. Talk to us a little bit about what that means and what you can fit in the case.
Back in the day, when we first started doing cases, obviously you had a lot of 5 1/4 inch bay devices. People had multiple DVD burners, so you could burn from one disc to the other. People had 5 1/4 inch bay fan controllers and things like that you would put in there. Even reservoirs for water cooling guys. Obviously, that is basically gone. Almost nobody uses 5 1/4 inch bay devices anymore. But the full size capacity is still really useful for cooling because of water cooling capacity, but also just air volume inside. The hotter components, it takes longer to heat up the airflow, the volume of the air inside the case. So getting the air in and out of the case, it gives you a little bit of flexibility. It doesn't change temperature as quickly as a smaller case does. It's a little more consistent. So one of the things that I liked about this was you have the direct airflow path, so there's no hard drives at all between the front fans and our hottest components, which is almost all of our chassis designs these days have that. But also the fact that you have 140s or 120s in front. We have that side panel that we did with the 5000 and also now the 7000. So you have the motherboard fan mount right there that brings in through a much filtered side. And you can use that as an intake or an exhaust. Top, which we've done on everything, and then the rear is a 140 or 120 as well. So just giving you the flexibility to kind of choose how you do the cooling is really my thing, because part of the benefit of building your own PC is you get to build something that's different from everybody else's, right? You don't get the exact same copy paste that everybody else's build does. And the bigger the case, the more fan mounts you have, the more kind of tweaking you can do to make your own version of that case, right? So if you have a smaller case, then you basically have to build very similar to everybody else has. If there's only 5 mounts for fans, you have to use those 5 mounts. If you have like this, where you have 6,000 mounts for fans, you can kind of choose where you put them. I know that for me, like this is built by the awesome guys at Origin PC, and they're going to be doing a live stream build version of this earlier. But when I looked at this, I was like, wow, this is really beautiful. And then I also thought, like, I wouldn't have exactly put that radiator in the same spot. I would have done this, I would have done that. And that was reinforced kind of my head, like, oh, that's what everyone who's going to buy one of these is going to think. Like, I'm going to build a little bit differently than Jay builds his, or than, somebody else builds theirs. Some guys want to build exactly what they see in the photos. Other guys kind of just want to do their own thing. And I think that's the really cool benefit of this. But if you don't want to build your own, and you don't want to do that, the guys at Origin will build one for you. I think the Genesis line, you can go on Origins later today, originpc.com, and buy a fully built PC from the guys at Origin PC, and they'll build it for you exactly how you ask them to. And actually, nice thing of that is they can get GPUs that we can't get. So if you want to get a GPU, buying a fully built system is actually not a bad way to get one these days. So check that out. That's something I would do.
I mean, absolutely. That is how you score a GPU these days, George. Now, Jay, I want to ask this question to you because I know that you have a lot of experience building in full tower cases. For someone like me, who my last couple builds have all been mid tower or smaller, right? What is the benefit that someone like me might see, and why might I want to upgrade to a full tower?
Well, like George was saying, a full tower case just offers unparalleled cooling. It's all about the volume of air, the exchange of air. More fans obviously equals more cooling, but there's other benefits to it too, where the more fans you have, you can slow them down. And we're talking even just air cooling here. You don't have to be water cooling to take advantage of this. More fans equals more volume of air, which means you can slow them down and still get a huge exchange of volume when it comes to the air temperatures. So it's going to keep your graphics cards cooler. It's going to keep your CPUs cooler, your CPU coolers cooler, which is going to keep your frame rates up, your clock speeds up, your turbo speeds running longer. And that's without even taking any sort of water cooling into account. Now, if you're talking about water cooling, the same thing can apply to radiators. More fans equals more volume of air, which means you can slow them down and have an extremely silent system. Something you can't really achieve as easily with smaller cases, because the more crammed they become, the more resistance they have, the noisier things are. So you start dealing with air turbulence and such, which is just something you don't really get with a full tower case just because of its size.
And I know you do have a lot of experience with custom loop configurations and that kind of thing. Off the top of your head, how many loops do you think you can run in the 7000 series?
Oh, you could easily do a dual loop in there without having any sort of conflict or things getting in the way of each other.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the live build later, and of course to seeing everything you come up with, Jay. I think that for people who go to shows where you get to see these big full tower cases with lots of custom liquid cooling configurations, et cetera, I mean, that's what steals the spotlight at something like a CES or a show of that nature. So
yeah, you could see the same case at 5 different booths, and you'll see 5 completely different approaches as to how they build it.
Yep. And that's what gets me when I go to those shows. So right. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone comes up with this. I mean, custom liquid cooling is awesome. So what about closed loop coolers? I mean, this is a big case. What about fitting something like maybe a bigger all-in-one cooler?
Oh my gosh. It's like you've read my mind. I'm happy to tell you that the other thing we're announcing today is a bigger all-in-one cooler. So I'll bring it back on the screen. Oh, there we go. It's so big, it's heavy. H170i, the Elite Capellix H170i, which is, as you might suspect, a 420 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. So our Elite Capellix coolers, which we launched last year, have done a really, really good job in the market. They basically dominate the performance charts everywhere you look. And we figured, hey, you know what? This thing can fit 420 millimeter radiators, and we don't really sell an all-in-one cooler that's 420 millimeters, so why don't we? And so we made one. It's basically the Elite Capellix H150i, but instead of a 360, it's a 420. So you get 3 140 millimeter ML RGB fans. You get the same awesome Elite Capellix RGB pump head with 33 Capellix LEDs in it. So you can go into IQ and set the RGBs to whatever you want. Set them to all white, set them to off, set them to unicorn barf mode, whatever you want to do. And that's really one of the things that people like about Elite Capellix. But the other cool thing is that it comes with the Commander Core, which allows you to control up to 6 fans off it. So it can control the 3 fans it comes with, but you can also control 3 more fans with that. So if you want to turn your case into kind of a full, smart case, quote unquote, that's how you do it, is you use the Commander Core for that. So that's one of the things that we like about it, is that we are letting people do full fan control and noise control for their system, instead of just the 2 or 3 fans that come with the radiator, which is something that people have mentioned, that it was nice to be able to control the speeds of the radiator fans, but what about my case fans, which I have to control off the motherboard headers? So now you can do the whole thing through IQ, which is pretty cool.
That is awesome. And a couple things I want to address. I know everyone in the chat is talking about the giveaway link. The giveaway is working. We just have a lot of people entering right now. So feel free to try again. You do have 30 minutes to enter. So there's plenty of time to shoot your shot if you haven't already. And also regarding this new cooler, George, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is available now on Corsair.com, and there's a special offer with it.
I believe there is. Yeah, there's a bundle, I believe, for the 7000D and the Elite Capellix H170i. So if you buy them both together, you save a couple bucks. And you can check out on the website and see what that's like. So that depends on, obviously, if all the guys have bought them already, then tough luck. The guys who bought them on the first part of the stream got them. Otherwise, you should go ahead and add them to your cart, buy a bunch. They're great stocking stuffers for Christmas. Think about it now. It's July almost. So time to get close.
I mean, I love me a good bundle. Purchase a 7000 series case and an H170i Elite Capellix cooler at the same time, and you will receive 10% off the cooler. Huzzah. Now, Jay, can you walk us through what would be the benefits of a larger 420 millimeter radiator?
Well, kind of the same thing with the surface area we were talking about with exchange of air in the chassis. Larger radiator surface area also is going to improve your cooling efficiency. So you can choose to either add more fans, like 360 versus a 480, right? So there's an extra fan in there, or by going with a larger diameter, or excuse me, a larger surface area of the radiator, which is 140 millimeter fans. You get the same benefit of more volume of air through the radiator, but also less noise. So with a lot of cases not actually supporting large 420 radiators anymore, it's kind of nice to see a case here that will fit at least 2 different spots in it, front and top, to be able to put up to a 420 millimeter radiator, which is going to get you the benefit of, like I said, more volume through the case, more volume through the radiator, higher boost clocks, maintaining cool temperatures without having to have, sound like a wind tunnel.
Right. And Jay, you have quite a bit of personal experience working with larger radiators and cooling systems, correct?
Oh yeah, all the way up to 560s. George, we need a 560 version now. 9,000.
I'll get the guys started on that with the. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers above 7, so we can go 8, 9. Who knows, 10,000.
Yeah. So no, I've always just chose to fill out the cases though. I don't like to see spots where something could go and there's not, because for me, PC gaming's fun. I love gaming, but the game for me is building benchmarking. It's what I like to do. And so if I see a spot where I could mount something or go with a larger rad or more fans and I leave it unoccupied, that starts to bug me. So when I see something like a 5000D or a 7000D that allows you to fit so much stuff in there, the brain juices just really start flowing. I mean, you start looking at, okay, we could put a rad here, rad here, rad here. We can do, rigid tubing, soft tubing, have it look completely filled, but not crammed, if that makes sense.
I do the same thing in RPGs, like in online games, where you can set up your toolbar with all your quick access, like potions and spells. Like I make sure if there's 8 spots, I have 8 things there. Even if I don't really have 8 spells, it's just like random stuff, just because it makes me annoyed to see an empty spot.
For me, it's like the opposite of having to zero out all your notifications on your phone. I want them all notifying.
Exactly.
So making use of all of your space without cluttering. I love it.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I mean, there's lots of different ways to fill out these cases, and everyone's going to have a different aesthetic and a different way to tackle their build. Let's go ahead and talk about the options and variations for the new 7000 series of cases.
Okay, so this is the 7000 X RGB, which is the glass front and glass top, and it comes with the, like I said, the SP140 RGB Elite fans. The other version of this is the 7000D Airflow, which has a steel front and top that's perforated with mesh for high airflow to get through. That comes with non-LED fans and RGB fans. So some people don't want RGB, or they want to buy their own RGB or do whatever they want to do. So we make the Airflow version, the one that doesn't have the RGB lights and the other RGB fans, and then the glass version with the glass top and the glass front comes with the RGB fans in it. So you can choose which one you want. They also both come in white and black, so you can pick whichever version. So there's 4 models, black and white, of the Airflow and the XRGB. You choose which one you want. And the XRGB, obviously, because it comes with the lighting controller, it comes with the lighting fans and the glass, it costs a little bit more, but the D-Airflow is a really, really good balance for that. So if you want to build your own system and you want high airflow, 7000 D-Airflow is the way to go. If you really like the glass and the RGB, go 7000 XRGB.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I forgot who said it, but someone in chat said, I'll have one. And I'm like, oh, yes, I agree. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Rapid Route cable management?
Yeah, I think that's something we started with the 4000 series, which is kind of a channel for cables that go in the back. So you can we noticed that, when we were doing trade show builds or photo builds, we always ended up kind of routing cables pretty much the same way. ATX goes up this side, and then the 8-pin CPU cable comes down this way, and all these other things. You zip tie all the fans together in the same locations. And then we just decided, what if we just kind of put a plastic route there and some Velcro straps, so you just always have them in the same spot. And so we did that with 4000 series. With 5000 series, obviously it's a bigger case, so we could do that with 5000 series as well. But this one, obviously being the biggest, has even more cable routing locations. So you have the cutouts, obviously, like on the screen now, but you also see the plastic routing mounts so that you can use the Velcro straps, you can use zip ties. There's all kinds of tie-down spots. And then with 5000 and there's actually some big steel door that closes over that whole cable routing area before you put your back side panel on, so that you can keep it nice and closed, and you actually screw that door down if you want to, so that you can get your side panel on without the big curved thing that those of us who've done terrible cable routing in the past are guilty of. I have a number of old steel cases that have a big bowed kind of left side panel that no one has ever seen, or right side panel, I guess.
I mean, don't call me out like that, George. I've had debates with friends before. Some people that say that cable management to them is the worst part of any build, like their least favorite, most difficult. And other people who find it to be really fun and satisfying to, plan that out ahead of time and then execute it in the way that they exactly wanted. So I love, me personally, I sit on the side of cable management as one of my least favorite parts of the build. So I commend those of you out there who absolutely love it, but I'm also really thankful for features in cases like this that are here to give a helping hand for builders like me who cable management is not necessarily their favorite. Now, Jay, I know you have personal build experience with this case. Tell us a little bit about your cable management experience with this case.
So I'm one of those people that don't enjoy cable management, but I can't let it go either. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship where I get as frustrated as anyone else because I'll have this 1 or 2 wires kind of going off somewhere that bug me. the thing about cable management for most people is they're kind of lost on where they should route stuff. It's not the fact they don't, I think, like bundling wires together and trying to make sense of it. It's just sometimes cases are not very intuitive in that here's where your 8-pin should go for your EPS power. Here's where your PCI Express should go, or even having multiple options. But the nice thing about the cable track that not only goes down the center of the chassis, like we showed on the video there, but you have a rack that goes across the top for things like having the Commander Pro, so you can have your RGB cables and your fan cables, but also a track that leads towards your EPS as well. So you're kind of guided as you're building in it to make sense of where the cable should go. It's also large enough to be able to have like the 24-pin, and if you're running a high-end graphics card that's got 2 or 3 power plugs going to it, to be able to run those all through that channel, plus fan cables, plus RGB or extension cables, maybe even SATA cables, and not have it suddenly become overwhelmed where they don't all fit in that channel. And then also too, I like the fact that, George, you guys use the captive Velcro straps with the actual hook rather than the old school ones where they're just fabric and you got to kind of stick it to itself. So you can undo those straps and they don't fall out. There's retention in there to keep them all in place. But yeah, you can see it guides you. It tells you exactly where everything should go. And then the built-in fan controller or fan hub near the top is at a perfect location so that the front fans can reach, the rear fan can reach, and the top fans can reach. Because I feel like fan cabling is where a lot of people really start to get frustrated with it. But the pre-thought out location for that hub also just makes sense. So it's extremely easy to build in this one because all of the planning for the cable management really already done for you.
Yeah, the other thing on that, where the Commander Core is mounted on the 7000X RGB, we put a little steel plate there, and that's over the CPU backplate cutout that we normally put on our cases. So the backplate cutout is still there; it's just thumb screwed in there, and you can take that backplate off and still change your backplate out without taking your whole motherboard out. So for if you're installing a water block that has a custom backplate or something like that, you can still access that without taking the whole system apart. But if you have this thing set up and you put your backplate on already, there's a little steel plate that's over there that you can put a Commander Core XT on. And if you have the 7000D Airflow version, that's an extra hard drive mount or SSD mount location. So you can put a 2.5-inch drive there. So I think that kind of looking for every surface to be useful is what we've been spending a lot of time on. We have on the PSU cover, for example, there's little SSD mount screw holes there. There's a mount for the vertical PCI Express mount for the GPU card. And then there's even like a little window to show off the power supply, mostly because we sell power supplies and our PSU guys were like, hey, why are we covering up one of our core businesses? So we put a little window there. But the cool thing about the little window, I think, is that as a guy who's done some modding in the past, you can take that little acrylic window out with a couple of screws, and then you can put your logo on there with a vinyl sticker. You can put some lighting back there. You can even get it laser etched and put it back in. So it's just a little place to customize and tweak your system too. So if you don't want to show off your awesome power supply because you bought something besides Corsair and you're ashamed of it, then you can put a little screen over that or something and cover it up, which I recommend. If you don't buy a Corsair power supply, cover it up. Don't let anyone see that, please.
George, you're ridiculous, and I love you. Aslan in chat says, can we see how the side glass panel comes off, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me move my casual Flex 15-year coffee mug.
Can I just say, George, I want to say I appreciate the fact that on top of the power supply shroud, how you guys have the 3 mounts for the SSDs. I do appreciate that you put grommet holes right behind there so the wires can easily just tuck away without having to go through some unnecessary routing.
Cool. Yeah, it's really helpful too. It's nice to do that. Doors on this one swing open, so it's just a post hinge on the back, so you can just pop it out, and there's a latch at the front, and then you want to take it off, you just lift it up and put it away, and that's it. You want to put it back on, there's a hinge back here. You line up the hinge pieces, and try not to shatter a piece of tempered glass on live camera, and then snap it back in place. So very easily done for someone who's done it 5,000 times like me. For the rest of you guys, it'll take you 2 or 3 times and figure it out, but it should go quickly. Like I said, completely tool free. You can get in and out of the case quickly. I actually hated, those little thumb screws that you use to keep side panels secured for the most part, especially when you have to line up all the little teeth on the top and the front and then slide it in. One of the first things that we did when we designed the first 800D, our first full tower, was we actually had a push button latch to release the side panel. You pushed a button on the back and the whole thing had this big, expensive latch that slid forward and released the side panel that came out nice and clean. we didn't know that at the time, like how to do this more efficiently. This is actually a better method and slightly cheaper to implement. So this is smarter than the push button thing. But it was always a thing to me to say, hey, if you could get rid of a tool and make it tool free to build a case, you should make it easier. You should make it so that I don't have to have a screwdriver or whatever to do this. And so most of the things inside our cases have been talking about, ease of build, ease of use, because at the end of the day, we want people to enjoy building the PC. When they buy a Corsair case or a power supply or whatever, they put it together and they had a good time with it and they experienced well, especially compared to some other chassis that you can buy that have 1,000 different tools and different size screw heads and stuff. I just want people to think and go online and say, wow, I built in the 7000D and it was amazing. I love it. It's my favorite case ever. So that's kind of my thought process.
I mean, as someone who loses screws in builds all the time, I thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think I see at least 2 people in chat asking about Commander Core XT and fan lighting. Can you talk a little bit about Commander Core XT?
Yeah, Commander Core XT is a slightly updated version of the Commander Core that comes with the Elite Capellix coolers. The XT has a couple of extra ports on it, but it can control the lighting of up to 6 fans, as well as the fan speed of up to 6 fans. It also has temperature sensors, so you can monitor the temperature inside your chassis in a couple locations. It comes with little thermistors. And in IQ, you can set any fan and any light to do anything you want based on the temperature. So you can change lighting to turn red when it gets hot next to your GPU, or you can say, hey, when my GPU gets hot, turn on my front 2 intake fans higher and ramp them up a little bit or something. You can adjust all that through IQ, which is pretty cool. It also has a little future expansion port so that, there are other devices we'll be launching in the next few years or months that will be able to tie into that. It's labeled, ID on there, but it's basically just a future expansion port. So future products will be able to identify themselves into the Commander Core XT. I think you'll see more of the controllers that we have in the future have little ports like that so that we can kind of identify devices individually and go down the chain. The other thing that I like about these things is that, you can actually daisy chain them with USB hubs. So if you have, a USB hub, you can kind of plug one into the next one, and then you can control 12 fans or 18 fans or 24 fans. Like we've done on the 1000D build we had a few years ago. I think we had 6 Commander Pros daisy chained into each other on that one, because we had like 38 fans or something in that one with 3 separate water cooling loops. Not that you should do that, but you could do that.
Here's a question from Tyrone Armstrong. Says, how many fans does the case come with?
It comes with 4 if you buy the 7000X RGB, which is the 3 RGB fans in the front and the 1 in the rear. And it comes with 3 140s if you buy the 7000D Airflow, 2 in the front and 1 in the rear. Again, awesome. non-RGB versions on the D Airflow, RGB versions on the XRGB.
Okay, and I have another question here from Schnibs86. This one was from a little earlier in the stream, so thank you for asking. I do promise we're monitoring, so if your question doesn't get answered right away, we still got you. Schnibs86 said, is the GPU riser cable in the build PCIe 4.0?
This build, no, I don't think that one's a 4.0 cable. We don't have a 4.0 PCI Express riser right now. We are working on that. We also it's not included with the chassis. It is sold separately. Speaking of vertical PCI Express mount, this is actually a pretty cool feature. So in this case, you can see that the vertical PCI Express mount is mounted here where you have the 3 slots located. So there are 3 slots, gives you a little bit more room for wider GPUs. But this case is one of a kind of unique feature is you can actually take the bottom few slots of the regular 7 PCI Express mounts. They come off and rotate themselves. So you can get even more room between your GPU and the side panel. So if you buy one of those monster, like 3090 size, custom quadruple fan monster GPUs that are like the size of a child, you can actually mount that in there and still have plenty of room for airflow on the side panel. I know that a lot of guys like Jay and these other guys have found that when you mount a GPU right up against the glass, it suffocates it. Basically, you have no airflow, you have no cooling. So we were trying to address that by saying, hey, you can mount it here. Like for water cooling, you don't need it. So you can mount it right up in this slot. But for air cooling, you can mount it, a few inches further in, and it gives you much more clearance for cooling. So we've actually done that on this chassis. The 1000D has that as well, but this is the first time we've done it on a vehicle size case.
And Jay, question for you. Would you go with a standard orientation or vertical GPU mount, and why?
For water cooling, definitely vertical. Again, SLI is kind of dead, right? I mean, if you want to do overclocking and benchmarking and stuff, yeah, there's apps that still will utilize it. But in a case this size, I feel like if you went with a water cooled, which just brings it down to a single slot, especially with a GPU block on there, and you mount it horizontal, it might look a little empty. But if you have a nice big graphics card, I mean, all the custom cards these days are just, they're much larger than they really need to be. I mean, you've seen the size of the Founders Edition PCB. But if you go vertical with it, it shows off the pretty side of the block. If you go horizontal, it puts the side that, in my opinion, looks the best facing down where you can't see it. If I were going with an air-cooled card, like George said, and that was one of the first things I noticed in this particular chassis when I was going through it, was the fact that you can move it closer to the motherboard and have a good volume of airflow in front of it. I've not been a huge fan of vertical mounts personally in the past, but as SLI sort of started becoming less of a thing and seeing, the best parts of your graphics card that looks the nicest facing down where you can't even see it, it started to become something that, I'm more interested in doing. Like my personal build right now has a vertical mounted graphics card in it, which is the first time I've ever done that for myself. But I like the fact that you have flexibility there. You can get it away from the side panel, get more airflow to it, or if it's water cooled, put it up against the side panel where you can see it from pretty much any angle and open up airflow to your chipset and other motherboard components without kind of making it cramped right there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but NVIDIA no longer supports SLI. Is that right?
Well, they do,
Okay.
but there's implicit and explicit, so that's a whole different conversation
Got
there.
it.
But
Okay.
most of the apps like Time Spy and Port Royal and all that do, but
So-
there's no modern games that use SLI anymore.
You can physically do it on a 3090 now, and actually, as a teaser, we have a build video that we'll share before we go over to Lewis and PJ from HP, our guy in Denmark who built a monster dual 3090 build, just to tell people that we do as a company have two 3090s in the entire company, and he has both of them in Denmark.
All right. This is an update for everyone. This is just in. We are aware that the giveaway app has not had its coffee this morning, to say the least, and it's not cooperating. So we will extend all of the giveaways for 24 hours, and we will notify winners via email. That is the update. So to all of you that are like, I can't get in, that's okay. You've got 24 hours. And again, we'll notify the winners via email. All right, I've got a follow-up question here from Alex H, who says, are the Commander Core and Commander Core XT available separate from the H170i and 7000X RGB?
The Commander Core, I believe you can buy. Yeah, it comes. I think you can buy it on the Corsair.com site. It says accessory product usually. The Commander Core XT is not available separately yet. There are plans to do that in the future, but as of right now, as of today, you won't be able to buy it unless you buy this case that comes with it. But yeah, for most of our products, the parts that are inside the case, we've always tried to sell them separately because we like to service the modding community and the building community. And what we found is, some guys, hey, I want to mod the side panel, but I'm worried, like, what if I scratch it or break it? I'd like to practice on one before I touch my good one. So they'll go buy the spare part or whatever. And so we do that a lot. Almost, you could build an entire case with all the spare parts you buy from the website pretty much, except for the frame.
Awesome. I see a question here from Scone, says, how tall is the 7000 PC tower in inches?
Oh man, 600 millimeters in inches is, I don't know. I forgot. Like 23 and a half, 24, somewhere in that range.
Come on,
So
math, George.
Look, man, I know metric when it comes to PC. I know imperial when it comes to like how tall I am, how much I weigh, and how to drive somewhere. I'm an American, man. If you ask me to convert one to the other, like I was joking with one of our guys in UK, like he's like, oh, it's 40 degrees C here today. And I'm like, I realize that that's actually very cool for a PC CPU. I don't know what that means for me. Like, I don't understand how that correlates. Like,
Yeah, it's roughly 24 inches.
Thank you very much, Jay. Jay answered it better than I could.
Well, I only ballpark because I just know there's about 25 millimeters in an inch. So there you go. I just, it's close enough, right, to communicate with those that don't use Imperial.
There you go. So it's a tenth of a farthing or something. I don't know.
I always measure, since I'm 5'0", I always measure stuff in how much of a trish they are.
How
So
much of a
probably
trish?
more than half a trish. All right, I've got a question here for Jay from Silver Lightning. If a GPU is in the vertical mount, would I be able to put an Elgato capture card behind it?
There'd be plenty of room if you were using the front mount like George has it right there.
Okay.
Because it doesn't interfere with the standard PCI Express brackets right there because you're not rotating them. There's still plenty of height. But again, you're going to want to obviously be mindful of the amount of space you have between the glass and the cooler itself. If you're running a dual slot cooler, because I used a 3-slot vertical mount right there. See, a lot of cases in the past use a 2-slot for the vertical, which leaves you only maybe 5 or 10 millimeters at the most between the glass and the cooler. A lot of graphics cards these days are running 2.5 slot, maybe even 3. So you just want to be mindful of that. If you're running a standard 2-slot card, there'd be plenty of room where I wouldn't be worried about the cooling, and you'd still fit the Elgato behind it. If you're going to be using the more inward mount, then no, you wouldn't, because it'd be rotating all of those PCI Express brackets anyway, so you wouldn't be able to mount it to the slot.
So for all the content creators out there you have it. Here's a question from Venom Gaming 299. What's the difference between the 7000X and 7000D? George?
Like we mentioned, the airflow panels. So the steel airflow panels on the D is the biggest version difference. So the 7000D airflow has the steel mesh front and top. The 7000X has glass front and top. That's the biggest difference from a aesthetics perspective. And then obviously the XRGB comes with the Commander Core XT and all the RGB fans versus the black fans and no Commander Core XT built into that one. They both do have a PWM splitter though. So if you do want to control all the fans through the PWM header off your motherboard, you can just plug this into one of your PWM headers and then go into your BIOS and your motherboard software and say, you know, PWM header 4 is set to 60% duty cycle, and all the fans will go to 60% duty cycle up to 6 fans. So they both come with a PWM splitter, but like I mentioned, the 7000 XRGB comes with the Commander Core, so you have a little bit more granularity, and you can control each fan separately in IQ.
Awesome. Here's a question, just kind of a fun one, a personal one for both Jay and George. For your own builds, do you go all-in-one cooler or custom loop coolers, and why? I mean, for me, I have an all-in-one cooler in my build right now. I know gone are the days of like covering all your components with paper towels to make sure that there's no leaks, but for your own personal builds, all-in-one or custom loop? Jay?
Oh, custom loop. I mean, it's how I started my channel. I've done custom loops since we were using old automotive heater cores and stuff for radiators because nothing existed yet in the market. It's a total niche, but that's just, I enjoy it. Like I said, the build is the game for me. Even my studio computer here, it's the one where I use the how to build a water cooled computer using all the Corsair 5000D stuff. That is my rig that I use here. Yeah, everything has always been just custom loop.
Mine are now all in one. I've done custom loop in the past. I used to do it a lot more. But I'm an old man now. I have kids, and you know, my limited amount of time that's not spent like playing with my kids and stuff in front of my PC. I just want to make sure that that I can just turn it on and game without having to worry about like, oh, I'm swapping out my new GPU. One of the benefits of an all-in-one cooler is it's basically painless. I still have an air-cooled GPU, so I can swap out my 1060 or whatever for my 2070 when I can find one, and then upgrade gaming and do that without having to worry about draining the loop, changing out the GPU block, making sure that I don't have any leaks for 6 hours or whatever, and doing a pressure test. I do that at work a lot. I have guys here who've built all these beautiful custom built loops. So at home, I can just kind of have a painless personal system that is actually right now is still in a 4000 series because I have very limited space on my desk. And
to add to what George just said, though, for those that are considering which one, there's very little benefit to a custom loop today versus where there was in the past. I mean, AIO technology has come a long way. The cold plates have improved. The materials have improved. The radiator support and the sizing has obviously improved. For custom loop, it's really just about, like I said, the niche of enjoying building something like that. That's over-engineered. It's unnecessary these days, but it's just way of life for those of us that really enjoy just putting together a custom, cooling system as you see fit. But with the AIO improvements that we have now versus the past, you're not going to really see any sort of a temperature difference between your CPU with the system that is sitting right there next to George, or something running like a 170i or something like that.
But it looks so cool.
And that's why I do it. That's why I do it. Like I said, building is the game for me.
Right on. So when it comes to building, I know I fessed up earlier that one of my least favorite parts of PC building is cable management. Jay, what would you say is your favorite part of building a custom PC? Is it the custom loop cooling?
Yeah, if that's what I'm doing. For the most part, I just try and find a way to tie everything together into some sort of a theme. George can probably attest to this too. You build enough systems it's hard to keep it from feeling redundant, even if you've done it a different every single way, because you start repeating techniques and stuff. So one of the things I've started getting into heavily in the last couple of years, and George mentioned this as well, is the modding community. I've started enjoying modifying parts and cases to, take what's already there and then theme it. And obviously a large tower like this allows you to do that, not just with the exterior, but the interior as well. But yeah, even if it's just a basic off-the-shelf, build, I try and just kind of tie everything together, whether it be a color theme, an aesthetic theme, and that's what I look forward to most, is just kind of seeing it all come together with whatever vision I had before I started.
Right, and that's actually, it's a good thing to mention. I've been building PCs for a really long time, and it used to be back in the day, you were kind of beholden to what the motherboard guys did. Hey, you've got an amber-colored PCB with 7 different colors on the memory slots and the PCI or AGP slots even, and other slots. So it was like, you're basically, that's it. That's what you're building. And every case was, you could either get it in beige or black, and maybe black if it was lucky. So the fact that you can get white motherboards, white GPUs, we sell memory in white and black, we sell all these different things. Now you can tweak it. So even this build here, it's got, the white case with the gray accent. It's got the white XD5 pump res. It's got white Dominator Platinums in it. And we got white XD fittings on it for the Hydro X fittings. But we put red coolant in it because it gives you a pop of color, right? And obviously the Origin guys built it, and red's their company color. So I think they just said, hey, we do red. That's all that we do. We've built a bunch of these with blue. We've built purple. We've done it with yellow coolant and stuff. And that really changes kind of the way it looks, right? It changes your whole aesthetic and vibe to it. So, for example, when we do photo builds here and we're trying to show off a new product, let's say I have a white power supply coming out next month or something, then I would try and build a system that accents that. We have white cables, we have a white power supply, let's get a white case, let's get white memory, let's get all the white stuff, and find a white GPU, let's find a white motherboard, and find all the components we can that match that color build and make it unique and feel cool. You couldn't do that. Even 10 years ago, it was basically impossible. So I like the flexibility that the building community has today. And I think it's only getting better. Like you've seen on our website for the past few months now, we have even the custom edition version of the 5000 series cases, which people said, hey, I love the 5000, but can I get something a little different? And so we did some UV printed side panels with different art on them. And people have actually gone and bought a bunch of those things. So they like to see different screen prints and stuff like that. And it was kind of a test run to see if people were interested. They clearly are. So now it's just a matter of giving people more ways to customize their own things. So like you said, Jay, maybe from a performance standpoint, we're slightly better than we were a few years ago on custom cooling. But, we were still way ahead of where you needed to be on performance then. But now it's not just about the performance, which is still great. It's just also about getting the aesthetics to match exactly what you want.
I personally love watching builds that are themed around a specific game that's coming up. I find a lot of those in my feed. So whatever algorithm there is must know that that's what I'm searching for. Are there any particular games that are coming up that either of you are hyped for and may potentially want to do a build around?
Oh man. I'm always looking, and I really like space themes, right? I did a Star Wars build using I actually took a Corsair 1 and modified, I don't know if you saw that, George, and modified that into a Star Wars build where it has battle damage and blaster holes and stuff in it. And that was really fun to mod. I don't know. I try to not over promise and extend myself with some of the mods, because I'm still very new to the modding community where I'm learning the techniques as I go. I did a lot of model building, like plastic, obviously. But yeah, we were actually just talking about this the other day. We're doing an engine theme build right now, which I'm looking forward to for our racing simulator. But yeah, the problem is I get all these ideas in my head and I start a lot of them, and then they all kind of go on hold because I'm like, all right, I got to pull it back. I've got so much going on. I can't get it all done at the same time. I'm just one person here with a small team. But yeah, no, I'm always looking for opportunities. I kind of try and go with the games that, I feel like are going to be popular, because obviously that'll get, more people excited about it if it's a AAA title or something. The last one we were going to try doing was a Cyberpunk themed build. But we didn't know when the game was going to officially really come out, so we kind of put all that on hold. But I digress. That's neither here or there. It's just it doesn't matter what the theme is, really. I try to go out of my comfort zone sometimes, and I got to find something that really will allow for that.
I'm pretty stoked about Battlefield. Any Battlefield game, I'm a big fan of. I've been a fan since Battlefield 1942, and you know, for various iterations. You know, I like Battlefield 2. I like, you know, all these different versions. So I saw the trailer for the new one coming out, and you know, they basically have fully embraced the chaos that Battlefield multiplayer is. Like, they've stopped trying to become like, hey, it's just this cool combat sim. It's like, no, you're going to jump out of a plane and you're going to rocket launch the plane behind you, and you're going to jump back into your plane because that's what Battlefield is. And I was 100% there for it. I think that's what I'm excited about. What about you, Trish? I mean, I see obviously you've got the Triforce necklace, so you're a Zelda fan, like some of us might be. But you got anything you're excited about?
It's a pretty unknown title.
Yeah, it's a small kind of indie game, Zelda.
No, I mean, mostly, believe it or not, despite the Triforce necklace, I am more of a PC gamer than anything else. But even with that being said, I think probably my most anticipated title this year is PlayStation exclusive. It's Horizon Forbidden West. Just personally, as far as what I'm into, but I definitely am looking forward to seeing some Halo builds for Halo Infinite coming out. I think that'll be really cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what the modding community can do. I follow a lot of people that really will skin cases, and as you mentioned, Jay, kind of put like battle wear on the outside of their cases or blow holes through stuff where it's appropriate to do so. And I always in my mind question what that does to performance, but it sure does look super cool. And I would imagine with a case like the 7000, series, like these massive full tower cases, the possibilities would be endless as far as the modding community goes.
Flat surfaces and modders are like best friends. They do anything. We had a guy build a full-on Mech Warrior. So I'm an old guy, so I'm into Mech Warrior and Vampire the Masquerade and stuff. So we have some builds for the new Bloodlines 2 game that's coming out next year that we're having some modders build. I'm stoked about Bloodlines. We did a Mech Warrior build for the new Mech Warrior game that came out, where we have an Atlas fighting a bunch of other like smaller mechs. We're all about kind of embracing the old school gaming stuff, at least as long as my budget allows to buy and pay modders to do cool mods for us. We're going to be doing a bunch of fun game stuff. So I'm stoked about it. I think you'll see a bunch of cool mods on our website. We post them periodically. Our social team blasts them out all the time. Sometimes we do just cool aesthetic stuff that's really like, hey, we did this really nice finish and touching and beautiful touches and stuff. But as when it comes to game stuff, we like to do stuff that when we have a co-sponsorship, like with the Bloodlines 2 stuff or something, we'll do that. And other times it's just an enthusiast saying, hey, I built this awesome Fallout game mod PC. Would you like to share it on our social? Sure, go nuts. So
I see some folks in chat. I think it was the Rage Bash. So I apologize if I get your name wrong because chat's going so fast. The way that I'm looking at it right now said La Sombra for the win. So Vampire the Masquerade hype all around. I'm a big fan as well. And I'm fingers crossed we see Bloodlines too.
I was all about Assamites and Bruja back in the day. So
yes, Bruja as well. My current Vampire the Masquerade character is the Bruja. Fun fact right there. I know I mentioned Horizon Forbidden West coming out for PlayStation earlier, but I mean, we have reason to believe now that Horizon Zero Dawn is on PC and PlayStation games are coming to PC more and more. We have reason to believe that maybe eventually we will see a game like Forbidden West on PC, and then we could do custom mods for that. That would be very cool as well.
I mean, we can do a custom mod for it, even if it's not on PC, right? We've seen guys do like, Super Nintendo mods and stuff. So
that is very, very true. Here's a question for Jay from Shiguma99 says, would you sacrifice cooling for aesthetics in a custom mod build?
I have before. It depends on the purpose of the build. If it's just a showcase, then yeah, it's not that important. But if one of the things I really liked doing before everything kind of changed in the world was going to LAN parties, DreamHack, stuff like that. And so I would kind of find a balance between, all right, what can I get away with here that's going to sacrifice cooling for aesthetics? And if I start to see temperatures getting too high, then I'll just go in and either undervolt, underclock, or change. Yeah, I know some people are just freaked out going underclock, but yeah, no, I have to keep temperatures where they need to be. But it depends on the purpose. If the purpose is to look like an art piece and then performance and everything else is secondary, then that's the trade-off you have to make.
My favorite thing is when you obviously build for photo systems, right? We build systems that look good for photography. And everyone who's ever built a PC knows there's a pretty side of the fan and an ugly side of the fan, right? Where the back of the fan, where you have the label with the UL and everything like that, it's not as attractive as the front side, which spins around and looks really pretty like this. So occasionally in cases like, I think the Air 540 is an example where you can see fans on top, on front, on bottom, and on back. If you only wanted to show the pretty side of the fans, you just show that side, but that makes every fan an exhaust.
Very negative.
So you're just, popping air out there. That's not great for airflow. It doesn't work for performance, and it looks good in photography. So we built that for photography. We took pictures of it. And of course, like every comment, guys, like, these guys don't know what they're doing. It's like, no, guys, imagine for a second this was done for photos, and it's illustrative of what it looks good doing. I don't need to show the ugly side of every fan in every photo. So,
which is why Corsair now makes fans with LEDs on both sides of the hub.
Exactly, the QL series, which has so many LEDs. We basically said how many LEDs would actually melt the frame, and then we took one away. That's basically how we got that number. I wish I was joking. That's pretty close. That's actually pretty close to how that was developed.
Yes. I've had that happen too. Live builds where for camera reasons in the studio, we were trying to build with the case vertically. And the person who was actually doing the build was not used to building vertically. They were used to, setting the tower down to do their build, and lots of things going awry. And we had the same moment of, just imagine for a second, we were doing this to be filmed in a studio. So I 100% feel you on that one. But anyway, thank you, George and Jay, so much for this fantastic conversation. George, the new products look amazing and super awesome to build in. And again, if you want someone to build it for you, Origin PC has just launched these new cases on the Genesis gaming PCs and L-Class professional workstations. And we stick around because we definitely still have the Origin PC live build coming up. So much more to come. But I just want to take a moment again to say a huge thank you to George, a huge thank you to Jay. So even though we are going to say goodbye to Jay and George now, you'll definitely still want to stick around for what's next. So Jay, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, if you want to see more of Jay, check out his YouTube channel, Jay's with a Z, 2 cents. Also, right after the Origin PC live build, Jay is going to post his unboxing video of the 7000 series case that he received. So thank you, Jay. I'll let you say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Also, too, with the unboxing, not only do we kind of show it, we show some configurations and how things kind of are modular. So if you guys want to know how to build in or get some ideas, we kind of show what you can fit where, what pieces can be adapted to fit what. So yeah, it's definitely an unboxing and first look that we were excited to do because, like I said, I like full tower cases, and the fact that Corsair's got one again, I'm going to have to tear my system apart, move everything into it, just because I like the case that much more. Now I've got to redo all the work, but it's worth it.
Yep. And thanks again, Jay. And I think, like you said, Trish, you're going to go to Origin. They're going to show you an awesome build. In fact, they're going to show you how to build this specific PC. And you can buy a PC just like this from them on the Genesis line. So check that out. I'm pretty stoked about being able to just buy one built because, like I said, when you have a bunch of kids, you don't have time to build it as much anymore. So
I mean, I get it. And George, thank you so much as well. It's been great learning about all these new products and chatting with you. And we look forward to seeing you on a Corsair Live again soon.
Yeah, look forward to it. Hopefully in a month or two.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Bye. And thanks again to everyone at home for watching and participating. It's really, really fun to chat with you guys. And next up, we are going to connect with the Origin PC team in Miami, Florida. But before we do that, we have a nice video put together by our team that shows off a beautiful 7000 Hydro X build. Check this out.
Hello, everyone. Coming at you live from Miami, Florida. My name is Lewis, and I'm your host for the second half of the Corsair live stream. Joining us today is PJ, our builder. You can see him in the top right.
What's
and
up,
Trisha.
everybody? How you doing today?
Hey, PJ. And Trisha from just earlier, moments ago.
Happy to be
Trish,
back.
How you doing today?
You did an excellent job earlier talking with Jays and George. You guys got, fun discussion going on.
Yeah, it was super fun. I love nerding out about builds with people. So anytime I get a chance to do that, it is a good morning. And, nerding out with people about builds is only second to watching live builds. So thank you for letting me join you, Lewis and PJ, for this part.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, PJ, what do we got over there? Let's boost you up, though.
Boost me up.
Hold
okay.
on. Yeah, hold on a second.
Do? You want to... I mean, I don't know how I'm supposed to build with just these limited amount of parts that you've given me, Lewis, so...
Where's the case?
Oh, you want the case. That's what you wanted. Oh, excuse me.
So for those of you who might have missed, we're going to be building in the 7000X today. Come on. New case, live build, happening right now. Can't believe it. All right, let me see here. And I also got some specs for you guys. Also, let me know if... PJ, you got to talk?
Yes, sir.
All right, make sure you're loud and clear.
Testing 1, 2. I'm good.
All right, PJ's coming good. All right, he's going to bring out that case for everyone to take a look. Look at that.
I mean, if you got a comparison size, I'm about 5'6". I'm not a tall man. But this covers my entire chest. It's a pretty nice size case compared to the 5000. I really like it.
All right, so we boosted PJ's screen to even be bigger.
Awesome.
Please let me know if everything is a little smoother there. I know that you guys are slightly delayed, but please let me know. And PJ, just speak up.
All right, cool. If you guys are new to our live streams, usually whenever we build any of our systems, we always go ahead and start from the beginning to the end of building this. But since this is a particular Hardline Hydro Rex build, we decided to go ahead and have more or less 3/4 of the system built itself already. If you guys saw the original build that they have over at the Corsair Studios right now, I spent a lot of time cable managing that system up, so I wanted to make sure that it was immaculate and clean as possible. So I wanted to go ahead and have that all pre-done, because if I had to sit here and do this for a live build, I don't think we would have ever completed the system itself. So we wanted to make sure we can complete the system, put all the hardline tubing in it, prep the video card, install the CPU, the memory, and get it powered up for everybody to see. So I can go ahead and show.
You took all the fun from the people, though. Don't we have any footage or anything that people can see what you've done?
Maybe. Did you take some footage of me? You have hidden cameras all in this room everywhere.
Hold on a second. Let me disappear here for a moment, and I will show you a closer look at the motherboard. PJ
Sounds good to me.
Show the close-up.
All right. We just teleported to an alternate dimension a couple of days
ago.
When
did you do this?
I don't know. I can't believe it. So you guys can take a closer look at the motherboard. So that right there is your Asus ROG motherboard. I can't believe it. A little shaky cam there, but you can get a nice look at the motherboard. If we wait a couple seconds there's the Ryzen CPU. And then a couple moments from here, PJ is going to go into hyperspeed mode and put it in the case.
Usually
so we're doing
on a hyperspeed mode, but I think we're gonna chill it out for today.
Yeah, today is for the interest in time, because this is a fully custom liquid cooled build. And realistically, since the powers that be gave us 2 hours, we had to, work on some behind the scenes magic and, show you guys how it's done, but within a lot of time.
Now, is this what you guys were doing during the whole first part of the stream?
Oh god.
Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I was moving that fast. As soon as the 10 seconds we were on saying we'll be right back, I got to work immediately.
Perfect.
All right. So while PJ's talking over there, let's talk about those specs. I was talking about the motherboard earlier.
All right.
So PJ, you can go get started.
Sure.
And we're going to bring up those specs. All right. I'm going to take over my face again. So I'm sorry, you're not going to see my face too often on this stream, so I'm just going to be moving around a bit. I know.
I always love looking at that face.
It's awful. So again, as mentioned earlier, this is the Corsair 7000X case. It's in white. The processor is the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X 12-core CPU, coming in at 3.7 gigahertz with 4.8 gigahertz max boost. The motherboard, as we just saw earlier, the Asus ROG Crosshair 8 Hero, Memory is 30 gigabytes of Corsair Dominator RGB, 4000 megahertz RAM. I put RGB twice just because, all that RGB goodness.
RGB needs RGB.
This is also, as I mentioned earlier, the Corsair Hydra X liquid cooling system setup. Is actually the picture you see here is going to be kind of similar to the one you guys are going to see built today.
I wouldn't say similar, more as I would say it's an exact replica.
Exact replica? Really?
It's an exact replica of this system.
I can't believe it. I don't believe it. We'll see at the end once everything's finished and done.
It wasn't your team that built the one we saw earlier, though, correct?
Yes.
So is this your team's first time building this exact configuration?
No, I built both of these.
No, you built both. Okay, great. So you had a practice run.
I did have a practice run. I was able to practice. I was able to mock up everything, make sure everything's going. I took pictures of it so I can make sure when I started doing the second one, I knew exactly what I needed to do and put where I needed to put it. So
Awesome.
like Jay said, this is what, like he says, building for him is the main goal. I'm the exact same way. When I go into a blank mode. I like to zone out and just get lost in the build itself.
Cool.
It's very true. I've seen it happen multiple times on stream and in person too. Rounding out the specs is the AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT GPU. Quite powerful. That's the top of the line on the AMD Radeon lineup. And the operating system drive is a 2 terabyte Corsair MP600 PCIe NVMe M.2 drive, which works excellent in conjunction with that AMD Ryzen CPU because, of course, for those of you in chat who may or may not know, PCIe 4.0. Getting that nice little bonus there. So there are the specs, and if you guys want to see them, just ping me. I'll bring them up every so often.
Get the little guy right there. Bring me up to the other camera, sir.
Yep, you're up.
There
Oh,
you
hold
go.
on. We got multiple cameras here.
He forget. You got all these awesome. Check that out.
So there's that MP600 Pro.
2 terabyte.
It's a big boy.
The next one, so this is a gentleman right here. I actually already took it out of the box. And then we have our 32 gig at 4000 megahertz Corsair Dominator RGB in white.
I couldn't believe it was 4000. I had to do a double take. I thought it was a typo.
There,
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was
Read
3000.
right there, lad. Look at that. The camera's so awesome. You can see it yourself. 4000 megahertz.
Okay.
Oh, I love this.
See here. And we also have another camera angle. If you guys didn't know, you see there's like a phone connected there. What's going on? What's that going on over there?
Bad enough you got to see my face, but look at
Up close and personal. That is the Epoch
This
Cam.
is AKA
The Elgato
my
Epoch
buddy
Cam.
for the day.
So you can get a
is
nice
very
up close
cool.
look there.
It's
So we're gonna be
actually being
swapping
powered
between
right
these
now.
cameras.
It's actually being powered right now by an iPhone 12 Pro Max, so the quality is amazing on this. If you're looking at this through the stream,
It looks
Very
very, very
nice.
pretty. But we're gonna swap over to that angled because you're gonna be doing what next?
I'm gonna add just the small things first. So let's go ahead and add the memory, and we'll add the M.2 and the CPU.
Oh,
And then
we're
once
out
I
of
finish
focus. Put your
those
hand up to the camera.
items-
There you go. You're good. Aha.
We'll add those small bits in first, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with adding the CPU block. And once we complete the CPU block, I'll scoot the case out of the way a little bit, and I'm gonna disassemble and put the water block together onto the AMD GPU itself, so everybody can watch and see how we get that done.
Sounds good. All right, PJ,
Alright.
I'm not going to hold you back. Do your thing. I got Trisha here as a special guest. Thank you again for joining us, Trisha.
Of course. I would have
I'm-
just been watching it not on camera anyway. So thank you for having me.
Because you were talking about,
Absolutely.
Larry, you are a PC gamer and you've built PCs before, so it's great to have you on stream,
Yeah.
to talk about PC stuff in general and, the new 7000 series cases. So honestly, I don't know where to start while PJ's, getting his stuff together over there. If you want to see any behind the scenes stuff, by the way, at any moment, Trisha, or chat, just let me know. I got some footage for the CPU itself, some cable management if you want to see some high-speed cable management, the radiators, the fans, the power supply, and some tube cutting. The tube cutting video is pretty sweet.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to see some of that high-speed cable management.
The high-speed cable management is great. It's about a minute or so.
As much as I would enjoy it, I would just die laughing just watching. So I've never seen my hands move as fast as that before in my life.
I mean, I think at least I was going to say we all wish, but as I've said before in the stream, there are people who really love cable management. I do not zen out during cable management. It's my least favorite part. So I would love to just be able to high speed through the cable management of the
That's my
build.
favorite part. That is my favorite part of the
It
whole
is your
build. I could-
favorite part.
Yes, yeah. I find so much peace and patience in it. You know, I like sitting back and just analyzing the entire case itself and figuring out how can I do this, where can I put this. And in smaller cases itself, aside from the 7,000, I like to look around and explore the case itself to see if there's any spaces that I can actually hide cables. I don't, if the more cables I can hide, the better for me. I don't want you to see the cables itself. If it has to pop out someplace, I'll do that. But obviously in this case itself, you know, it's more along just you have to expose the cables. So if you're going to do it, just do it in a manner that it's going to be very nice and neat, you know, in proportion to, you know, to the set, to the case itself. So I just didn't want cables just throwing around everywhere. Everything has to flow either perpendicularly, horizontal, going down, anywhere else in the case itself. It has to just, everything has to be straight. It's an OCD problem I have.
PJ, I'm yelling at you on the monitor right now.
Why are you yelling at me on the monitor?
Closer. Closer.
Closer, like right here?
Wow, what a
yes.
difference.
My apologies. It's
difference.
just every single time I take a breath, I can
Just don't
no,
breathe.
hear
it
my
sounds-
nose.
It sounds
Just
so
don't
much
breathe.
better, PJ.
All right,
That's
my
the
apologies,
truth, dude.
guys.
Don't worry. People will appreciate the breaths here and there, you know.
My apologies.
That's perfect. Well, PJ, you just talking about how you can kind of zen out to cable management makes me just think that I need to build with someone like you next time. Like if I'm going to
Sounds
get a
good.
build buddy for my next build, I need someone that like I can just get that calm energy off of to chill out during that portion of the build. Lewis, are you a cable management guy?
Yes, I learned from the best, you know, with doing these streams for the past couple of years, you know, when I did my own build, I think my cable management came out pretty sweet. I don't know, PJ, did you give it approval? I think you give it approval, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just because he asked me.
Well,
I
I
mean,
love
I'm
cable
just-
management.
I'm so impressed also that you're building with the tower vertically. I my first couple live stream builds were with the tower laid down in an overhead cam. So anytime I see someone building vertically, I think back to a moment where a friend of mine was installing a GPU and we had to build vertically for the purposes of the live stream and how the cameras were set up, but he wasn't used to doing anything with the tower vertical and he dropped the GPU and like everyone in chat was like,
Oh, no.
it was
Oh,
awful.
no.
So kudos to you, my friend. Do
Well-
you always build with the tower vertically?
Yes. I was actually, when I started here back in 2013, that's how I was taught to build the systems. I was taught not to lay the system down, to leave it upright. So I've built every
Wow.
system now, which is kind of weird. If I do lay a system down, I feel awkward. I'm not comfortable in building the system laying down, like downwards. I find it so much more comfortable and easy just to build it the way it sits.
And do you find that changes with the case size? Like, is it easier to build vertically with a larger case, or it doesn't matter?
No, I think the bigger the case, the easier it becomes.
Okay.
So this case itself, it was just super easy. I have so much space to play with. I was able to just lock everything in. The other reason why it makes it easier is because you have that center pin in all the Corsair cases that always holds the motherboard up. So you never have to worry about the motherboard falling out. You can actually just set it in there and it'll clip in place and hold itself until you get the screws and screw everything in. Which is fantastic.
Cool.
So I'm actually taking the...
Going back to the horizontal building, I've actually
My
seen
buddy
PJ
cam.
do the horizontal stuff, and he freaks out. He's like, "No, this is not normal. I got to stand it up."
I think there was one particular live build that we did that I was requested to actually lay the system down. And I kept on requesting, I kept on asking, can I just sit it up? You know, is it okay if I sit it up? No, you have to put it, has to be horizontal. I was like, oh, fine. All right, I guess we'll do it that way. So now we got the XC7 with the AMD bracket attached to it. It also comes with with compound already pre-installed on the CPU block itself. So if you guys weren't aware of that.
You're going to use that compound, or you're going to put your own?
The compound that's actually on the CPU block is the exact same compound that I have that Corsair provides us for a thermal paste. So I can, I mean, if me wiping this off and then applying it again will just be me putting the exact same thing on.
Are you allowed to say what kind of compound that is, or is that?
No, I actually have, I
proprietary
have a
knowledge?
syringe of it. It's the exact same thing that Corsair says. So it is Corsair's XTM50 thermal compound. It's just, it already comes pre-done on the actual CPU block, but it's the exact same thing that comes in their syringe.
Cool.
There you go. I see people in the chat talking about the giveaways. So, little giveaway update. I know Trisha gave you guys an update earlier. Apologies about the kerfuffle earlier with the application, but we have extended all the giveaways for 24 hours, and it's exclusive to those of you watching the stream. So, you would know about these giveaways if you watched the stream. So, we're not going to promote these on social media. If you're watching this stream either now or the VOD out on YouTube, enter at originpc.com/CORSAIR Corsair Live. It should be working from my understanding. I think people on the chat were talking about it earlier. We do have 3 giveaways. The first one, Trisha mentioned actually at the beginning of the stream, is for the white Corsair IQ 7000X RGB full tower case, which is ironically the same case that we're doing on stream right now. And I saw that people in the chat were also talking about that second giveaway, which is also now live. The black 7000D Airflow case plus the IQ H170i Elite Capellix liquid CPU cooler. Again, those 2 giveaways are currently live, and hopefully you guys don't, take down everything again, but they should be working right now. If not, next thing everything's saying like, oh, it's broken. 24 hours. You guys have 24 hours. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you have 24 hours now. And see, didn't I tell you the giveaways would keep getting better as the stream went on? And they're going to continue to as well.
Yes. And we do have a third giveaway which will be going live later, but we'll talk about that down the road. If you're on the website, you'll probably realize, hey, I can't enter this yet. Stick around, then you can enter. All right, so let's see here.
I see a fun question from chat, which I think will lead into a really fun conversation. Art of Danny says, shouldn't you put as much as you can on the motherboard before installing it into the case? And I feel like this is personal preference, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
PG, you can go first.
Question again? Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, the question was from Art of Danny, shouldn't you put as much as you can on the motherboard before installing it into the case?
He's correct. Yes. Normally, I would actually have the CPU, the memory, the MEM.2, everything installed in this. For the purposes of this particular live build, I actually wanted to do these things last so we can occupy, time. I didn't want to have to throw everything in the system. Because if I did, we would have done this. And I would, if I actually had the opportunity to do this, it would be much quicker. But I want to, for the live purposes, I wanted to take my time and show how we install certain things and the build itself. But we have all those things already pre-done. There was things that I had to, that were built and then taken back apart in order to get this, to prep this system. But yes, he's correct. In normal cases, I definitely would have the all the parts inside the motherboard already pre-installed.
Yeah, I would do the same thing. Just everything pre-installed and then put everything in nicely.
That's how I normally do it too. And I normally do it like I said before, I'm used to building in mid-tower cases. Or even smaller sometimes. But I always think even with my tiny, like I call them hobbit-sized hands, I mean, getting in there and, having to make sure that you can get around everything is not always my favorite. So the more I can do on the motherboard before I put it in the case, the better for me. But I have friends who build the opposite, who want to build everything in the case, which is why I always say it's a matter of personal preference. But at least out of us 3, we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. I think the majority would do the same thing too. I think it's for, like I've been doing this for 9 years now, and every single time that I build a particular case, it's always a different case. You always learn something new. But the standard basics of how you would put it together, for me, I always stay the same. Install everything, prep everything, lay all your parts out in front of you, so you don't have to go back and start taking things out of the boxes. Sometimes we, we always test the products first. So we'll put everything on a stress bench to make sure everything works before we install in the system, because we don't want to have to, putting this entire system together and then having something fail on you, unfortunately, which does happen because not everything's perfect. You don't want to have to start taking things apart, especially a Hydro X build. You always want to take precautions of doing something like that before you put a system like this together.
Yeah, I think it was Lady Gamer 955 in chat said that you've seen builds where they build everything outside of the case and even test it that way first before putting it in the case. Now, I don't know anyone that does that, but I believe that there are people that do that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Any one of the influencer builds or the live stream builds that we've done here, when we get the hardware, sometimes before we even come out to do the live build itself, we'll take all the components out and put it on a stress bench just to power it on and make sure everything works. Because one of my pet peeves is every live build that we do has to post. There's not one system that cannot post when we do one of these. If it does, then I don't know what I do. I think I still have my record as holding every system I've done on a live build is posted.
So then what happens if you're on a live stream that's supposed to end at a certain time and it doesn't post? Do you go down the troubleshooting rabbit hole live?
If I don't know. I've never run into that problem. But you know what? I don't think it would be a bad idea to do that, because when you actually, you show everybody like these are the basic steps that you would do to actually test the system out and confirm why it's not posting initially. Some people actually have a misconception of what it takes to post. If you don't have a monitor on your system to actually visibly see the system power on itself, or see that main, like in this case, like you would see a Republic of Gamers logo when you boot the system up. If you don't have a monitor, you can't tell how to post the system. If you simply power the system on, you let it sit for about a minute and a half on by itself. If you power the system off with just a simple push of the button, if it shuts off, the system is perfectly fine. It'll post. When you plug it into a monitor, you will get that display. If the system doesn't power off with that simple post, it could be a multitude of things, but it's not very huge of what the issues would be. Why is the system's not powering on? It could be maybe the CPU needs to be reset, maybe the memory needs to be reseated, or it could be one of the components that you actually added to the system. It could be you could possibly have a bad memory that's out of the kit itself you have. If you have a kit of 4, one of those sticks is bad, it's not going to allow the system to post. Same thing with the CPU. If you have a bad CPU, it's not going to allow the system to post either. Or maybe it just needs to be taken out and put right back in. In most cases, that's what it is. People freak out when the system doesn't power on. They're like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Take the memory out. Stick them all in one by one. Power the system on and off each time. If it powers on and off each time after you've taken the memory out, then that's all that needed to be done. If you run into one for any particular reason that you go to plug it in and the system starts giving you that issue, then you know it's either that DIMM slot or it's that stick. Most of the time, it's going to be the stick. I haven't really, my motherboards have been pretty good lately that I haven't seen any DIMM slot issues.
That's great. I always appreciate a motherboard that has the error LEDs, so that if you do run into any kind of troubleshooting issue, whether it's the original post or anytime down the road, you can start to hone in on what the problem might be.
Absolutely. Always reference the user manual. So if you get a little code, like on especially Asus boards always have the little digital code screen at the top. So if it sits on something and you see the system not powering on for whatever reason, always reference the back of the book. And the back of the book has every code in there for the most part that will tell you why the system's not turning on. So that's always a quick, if somebody comes, I don't know what I'm doing, it's not turning on. Did you look at the book? Do you see the code?
It's in the manual.
Just look in the manual. It's right there for you. If there's something beyond the control, then yeah, I'm more than happy to help anybody out, because it could be something a lot more in depth. But so far,
right on. Thank you for those pro troubleshooting tips. I know everyone, I mean, I feel like even if you've done a dozen builds before, right? When you get the build that doesn't post, it still causes a little bit of panic. It's very hard to stay calm in that moment.
Absolutely. We have some marketing systems, because I tend to, some of our marketing systems when we do events, and I have to tend to maybe like over 150 systems. And out of all of them, I have that one that I've perfected every single one of them, and I know the ins and outs, but there's always just one of them that always wants to give me a hard time. That makes you just want to just bang your head against the wall, like, why is it doing this right now? I don't understand.
The other thing I love seeing, and I know you guys do live builds all the time, do you normally take your builds into like past original posts to like fine tuning your BIOS settings and OS install and kind of all of that and benchmarking, or does that happen off stream?
It depends on the, yes, but it depends on the actual person we're actually building it for, because most of the time they would just like a build and have it set it up the way we normally set it up as a default, how Origin PC would build the computer. But then you have some influencers that cater to certain things, like if they're doing graphic designs, if they're doing video editing, maybe they might have something that they want tweaked specifically, maybe overclock on the CPU or the GPU, and we'll be more than happy to do that. We do have guys on our team that set everything up and quote unquote beat the system up before we give it to the customer, because we want to make sure that everything we throw at it is going to work before we give it to them. So whatever they throw at, we know that they're not going to have any problems or issues whatsoever while they're running that PC.
I do have a question from chat. Jesse Rachel FL on Twitch asks, what's the first program you install after when you complete a build, parentheses, after the operating system? And for me personally, I love installing 3D Mark and just putting the system to work. Just like, go render, do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. We do the same thing. Once we run our initial overnight testing and just to make sure the temps are fine, we go into more depth, but 3D Mark is one of the first things we go into, because we want to start making sure that the CPUs and the GPU on the systems are running at their optimum.
What about you, Trisha? What's the software that you use?
So I have a library of software, and I normally go through whatever type of hardware is in that specific build. If they have a proprietary temperature monitoring software, I'll go with whatever theirs is. And I'm going to add 3D Mark to my list now. Thank you, guys.
It's on sale on Steam.
Yeah, I go through and monitor temps and normally like my first game that is my new like can it run crisis type thing is control with everything maxed out. RTX
Excellent.
on, everything maxed out. How does it handle control? And then I monitor all my temps while it's doing that. But again, I'm not building to gift these builds to consumers at all. Normally when I'm building, it's for my own personal use and my own home streaming setup. So it's a little different, but you guys got the real deal pro answers.
Control is definitely one of the best games to test, especially if you have, you know, powerful GPU, powerful CPU. It definitely pushes the system. I've played Control on stream before, and I love showing people like, this is all the cool features Control has. You know, it really pushes the system, and it's like we're using the latest hardware, and it's pushing the system, which is great.
Yeah.
I love playing games like that. Doom Eternal, while it doesn't really push your system, it's still really fun to push it to like ultra nightmare settings and really have fun with it. You know, high FPS, for example.
Well, Lewis is a big Doom aficionado, so if there's anything about that game, I've sat here before live streams and him telling me how he's gotten frustrated because he would play it on Ultra Nightmare after beating the game on every other setting prior to that with ease, but Nightmare gives him the problem.
Ultra Nightmare.
Ultra Nightmare, my apologies.
Don't get it wrong.
Because I beat the game Nightmare first go around, you know, beat it multiple times, and the Ultra Nightmare run has not been completed yet. So for those of you in the Origin chat, you guys know what we're talking about. But for those of you in the Corsair chats and all over, I really like Doom. I just need to beat Ultra Nightmare one day. It's got to happen.
You'll get there eventually. I believe in you.
But they're going to have your head in the bottom corner like in Mortal Kombat, like Boone or Tobias just pop up out of nowhere, but it's Lewis's head for the game.
All right.
Yeah,
so
Doom
Peaches
Eternal is fun as heck. I'm not playing on Ultra Nightmare. Don't get me wrong. But just the soundtrack to that game is so good.
It is insane.
Like you feel epic when you play that game, even if you're not very good at it because of the soundtrack.
Oh man, it's funny watching other players play Doom, because I play Doom with hot swapping and, you know, jumping around, keep saying mobile, but watching other players, like at QuakeCon, for example, at QuakeCon they have like demo stations for Doom, and just watching other players play, I'm like, oh no, you're so like young and innocent. You need to like learn. You need to learn the ways. So it's funny when players do get it though, when you see them like moving around and they get it.
What
So
are you showing us,
PJ?
All right, Mr.
Yeah,
Lewis.
I see that.
I already got the memory in the CPU block, and the M.2. If you notice, Trish, like I said, I'm very OC about my cable management. I don't just have the cable for the RGB for the hub. I actually hide everything behind the motherboard.
Nice.
So you actually can't even see the cable.
Nice.
I'll give you $1 if you can find the cable.
No, I mean, I've never built with that particular motherboard. Is that like an M.2 shroud that you hid that under?
Yes, there's an M.2 shroud here.
Okay.
Then there's a plate cover that goes here, and there's a secondary one that goes here.
Got
So
it.
what I do is I run that cable right behind the M.2 slot. It slides right under the PCIe, comes down by the CMOS battery, and then it would exit right over here, and I would have it drop because I actually have a pre-wired connector that's going to plug right into right here.
Sneaky, sneaky.
Sneaky, sneaky.
I love
That's
it.
how it works. So that's where we're going right now. After this, I'm actually going to, I want to switch to the top head camera, Lewis, because I want to take apart the Radeon GPU, the 6900 XT, and convert that into a water block.
All right. So while you're doing that, I got another video for you guys. We're gonna take a look at that
this guy over here.
CPU and the RGB strips, which are already in the CPU you guys just saw put in, but you'll see a short little snippet of how the RGB strips are added. Stay tuned.
Oh, nice. I'm looking forward to all this video. I haven't had a chance to see any of it.
So there's that CPU right there.
As soon as I can get that angle right.
Dun, 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 dun.
So again, this took place a couple days ago, and it's just, you know, some pre-recorded footage, and now we're off to hyperspeed. So just, you know, a recap of that CPU cooler, some more wiring, and there's the strips with the Lighting Node Pro.
Nice.
And one thing that PJ was showing me about the case was how he was able to get the strips and hide them. You can see them right there in the video.
Oh, yeah,
it went by really fast, but we'll see it in a second, and how he kind of hid the LED strips around the case.
Cool.
So, let's take a look.
All right, so you want to change to the buddy cam?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the RGB strips actually start from here, so they work their way backwards. So I started with the top one over here, and it works its way over to the top, to the front. It drops into the front, but what I ended up doing was, if you take, I didn't want any of that access cable to be shown or exposed. So the front of the 7000 actually has this really thick screen, and I was able to tuck and hide all the cables in between the front fans. So you can't see any of them through the back or the sides. So when you look at this, the front, none of the cables for these 3 fans or any of these 4 are actually being exposed. You can't see any of them. So like I said, I like to try any little way I can find or try to hide cables, I do. So I ran all the excess cable here in the front. The strip comes down to the bottom. It hides back into the front. I tucked it in here, and then I dropped it here to pass through. So you have one more strip here, that's strip number 3, and as it returns back into the window, there's strip 4 right inside there. So the case itself will light up, and then you have the back window with another LED RGB strip that will actually light up the power supply.
Now, are those strips, do they have adhesive, or are you tacking
Yes,
those?
they're adhesive and magnetic. So
Okay, great.
I'll sit it down first to make sure it's exactly where I want it, and then once I do that, I'll take the adhesive off and I'll stick it down to it. So it actually has a double protection layer.
That was going to be my question, is if they're adhesive and you put them in, say, like where the fans go, and then you couldn't get that that fan screen back on, what would you do?
No, well, while we were doing this, I don't think he got the cut, but I kept on taking the screen off and on just to make sure that there was no cables pushing up against it so it wouldn't stick in place. But yeah, it goes right on.
Cool. It looks great.
So
I just like how it's hidden, because in my personal case, I use the 4000D airflow. It's kind of tucked in. I have like a nice little tuck in there, but with this method, it's cool combining, you know, the front section of the case and kind of hide those cables. I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. It's just the size of the case and that extra flexibility. So wait a second. I was going to say, look at all those cables. How did you do that, BJ?
which one?
The back right there, just the back. Just the back.
Which one? Which
all
cable?
of them. Look at them. Everyone's just like, chat, what do you think so far? I mean, how did he do this? I have to say, I mean, because originally this thing, obviously, you know, there's all the strands and whatnot, but this is all very clean, good to go. And of course, I have a clip. You know, I always have to have a clip. So let's take a look at some
clips.
Hyper speed cable management just for you guys.
Show us the clip.
There's that backside of the case. You can see just routing all the cables.
So is that zip ties and Velcro ties?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually with some theme builds, I'll try to match if I have the zip ties to match, I'll match the color coordinating zip ties to the build itself.
So even though most people won't look at the back, if you ever do,
See, I love that. You might be having a nightmare right now. You look at all those cables like, what am I doing with that? And I'm having a ball right now. I am loving everything I'm doing. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Let me take this apart and do it over here. It might look better over here instead of here.
And here I'd be sweating that I wouldn't be able to get the side of the case back on.
That's most people's responses when I speak to them about their cable management. I was like, how come you did it this way? And they're like, I don't want to deal with it. I just want to shove it. I want the system up and running already. And I was like, I get it, but at the same time, I was like, you know, some cases you might be restricting airflow by just not neatly putting the cables together. Ideally, that's how it started with me. You know, you don't want to restrict airflow because cables thrown together like that can tend to restrict airflow in certain spots of the system. So I just started making them as neat as possible. That wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Props to you, of course, as usual.
So, all right, let's get to this monster here. You want to go to the over camera, sir?
Yeah. Angled or there you go. GPU time.
Ladies and gentlemen, should I be doing this? I know everybody's video cards are very scarce right now, but we have an AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT that I will be dismantling. So let's hope it works.
Oh man,
look at that, cracked open.
Everyone's watching nervously right now. I'm watching the chat right now, and everyone's like, "Oh no,
what's it doing?" What's this? Oh wow, look at this, Louis. The GPU comes with that's a mouse pad. It comes with a mouse pad.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
I've never seen these
yet.
Yeah, I've never taken a 6900 XT out of the box. I usually get, you know, when we get them, I always just get it in hand like this, but I never get one in the box, so I didn't even know it came with one of these. That is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I'm just trying to find the angle with a mouse pad to GPU. Usually I have a mouse with a mouse pad, but they are gorgeous video cards. Look at that.
I
Yeah,
like
pretty
how the
cool, man.
mouse pad kind of like almost emulates
What?
the design of the G. Oh, you almost killed the buddy
Nope.
cam.
Nope. We don't
Doing
want
it
that.
live.
Well, there's your
Just a
Android
fun
mouse
fact.
pad.
That's not my phone.
I know. I was going to ask you guys for the buddy phone if you were using Droid Cam, but you're not because that's
No, we're
an
using
iPhone.
Epoch Cam. We're using Epoch Cam.
Got it.
Let me
Cool.
actually jump to that really quick. That's Elgato software, which we've installed on the iPhone and connected directly to the PC. So it's a really cool method to, either, if you're doing a stream yourself or if you wanted to show something off on or do recordings, you can, hook it up and use Epoch Cam to record using your phone. Your phone cameras are fantastic. The iPhone cameras are great, as you can see here on stream. So it's a fun little tool.
Lewis, do you know if Epoch Cam works with Android as well?
It does not yet, from my understanding, according to the Elgato team, who are probably watching this and probably like, but if you do have an Apple device,
fingers crossed from this Android user.
Here we
there's
go.
that GPU. All right, let's go back to angle.
Let me see if I know what I'm doing here.
Maybe. I think he
Maybe.
knows.
I mean, I would venture to say there's a good chance, PJ.
Good chance. All right, and then we're gonna get our XG7 RGB. So it's people's favorite part by taking these things out of the package.
So that is
Usually
the
when I do-
Corsair water block, correct? You
Yes,
should put
the
up the
Corsair
camera.
XG. Oh, I'm sorry. Corsair XG7 RGB.
There you go.
This camera is mind blowing, dude. That's why I had to shave my ear hairs because I didn't want you to see anything today. When he first got the cameras in here, let me tell you, when he first got these cameras in here, he asked me to come in and check everything out. He showed me, and I was like, well, I need to go get a manicure right now.
You know what?
No, it's true. These are great cameras.
All the extra things you think about when you're doing a build for camera that you would never think about off camera building.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then when it comes to on building, I'm like, oh, maybe I forgot something. Let's see, we got anything else in here? Nope. All right. So first things first, let's take this slightly expensive GPU apart.
Oh man, I know people.
This is my favorite part because everybody starts trembling when they see this, and they see somebody with a screwdriver doing this, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, just plug it in and play with it."
No, that's not what we do here.
No,
We're gonna take it
absolutely not.
apart.
That's not what we do.
People are asking to do some peels in chat. Are there any peels on it?
Unfortunately, there are no peels on this.
Wow, really?
Oh,
I'm kind of surprised.
Nope, I don't see anything.
How is a tech content creator supposed to make a TikTok if there's no peels?
You are not wrong.
And we already did the peels for the case like way earlier, so you guys missed that part. Sorry.
Mhm.
I don't
So
have
we
footage
should
of
have
that.
did. We should have did an entire B-roll of just every piece of plastic we peeled off.
Yeah.
I
Like
did
a
peel off the
supercut.
ones off the memory.
On stream?
Yep, sure did.
Oh, we blinked and we missed it. Sorry. Ghost on Twitch says that peels cost an arm and a leg.
It does, but it's so worth it.
I'm curious.
see.
I wonder if we can
One,
angle
two.
the buddy cam or the Epoch cam closer so people can really see what's going on. Let's take a look.
Let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead.
That's
No, hold on. Let me move it a little bit. I can angle it down right.
I am also loving the BTS of the rest of your studio, by the way.
Why is this? Is it facing me? Why is it facing me? Did you do something
Flip
with
it.
it, sir?
Did you press blood?
No, I don't know how I did that.
He's touching the iPhone. He's like, how did this happen?
There it goes.
Oh, he got it. There you go.
Perfect.
Like an up close and personal with the GPU dismantle.
So first thing we're going to do is take this plate off. Okay. And I'm going to need a little screwdriver.
By the way, while PJ's doing this, just a reminder that we do have those giveaways going on. So far we have, let's see, the giveaway for the very first giveaway was for the white 7000X, I believe. Yes.
Correct. That's correct.
And then the giveaway number 2 was for the bundle of the Corsair 7000, the 7000D airflow case with the IQ H170i Elite Capelix liquid cooler. The
Capelix.
Yeah. Thank you. I need the syllable mark above there.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. They had to do the same thing to me too.
Got it. It's like when you say
I was trying to give Lewis the benefit of the doubt.
ROG most of your life, and then realize it's ROG. It happens to the best of us. But yes, the Capelix liquid cooler with the 7000D airflow case, that is giveaway number 2. And I don't know, have we announced? We do have more giveaways coming later in the stream. Wink, wink.
We have something. I know people are, if you've been to the website, we've been giving hints and bits and pieces about something happening at the end of the stream. So we'll see what that is. I think everyone here knows what it is, but for those of you watching in chat, you have probably no idea. Unless, you can put the pieces together. We have some, junior detectives.
I'm building live over here and I have no idea what it is. What are you giving away?
I don't know. But you'll know near the end of the stream, so we will see.
We'll see.
I still get to take this thing home, right?
No.
It's not fair.
I'm really liking this up close look at the GPU dismantle. We haven't done this before on previous live streams, so this is definitely something new for those of you who've watched previous Origin PC live streams. This is definitely something new and exciting to see up close.
I actually like it too because, usually if we behind the scenes before we start some live builds, Lewis and I we'll try to experiment with some type of camera angle that we've never done before. But with these new cameras, I think it really works. I dig this view. I mean, maybe if I scoot it back a little bit, maybe right there. That's cool. I'll probably do that.
Yeah, this is awesome. Perfect view. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Epoch Cam. And I know, so you're keeping track of the screws, right? And I know with the Corsair mount, you have that kit over there too. So
yeah, the kit itself comes with the screws. That comes with the secondary screws to put into it.
I love seeing everyone's reactions in the chat, by the way, after I gave my little winks and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not saying anything though. You guys figure it out. I have faith in chat though. Chat, give them a bone. They'll put together the dinosaur. So, you guys are fine. Don't worry about it. So people are asking, how do you enter the giveaway?
Just said, how do I enter the giveaways?
Yes.
originpc.com/Corsair Live. If you can't see the link in chat.
Yes, that is correct. And that's where you'll find the stream exclusive giveaways, which are 3. And they'll be only available for 24 hours. For those who earlier in the stream, you might have noticed we had some hiccups with the application, but we changed that so it's been extended to 24 hours. And we won't be promoting these giveaways on social, so your chances basically, if you're watching the stream or you're watching the VOD, you'll know that's where you need to go to enter.
One more.
And we'll announce the winners we'll contact them via email and then take care of the rest and do the announcement via the app. I know people are asking about that as well, so hopefully that clears up any questions about that.
And then we go 1, 2, pop.
Look at that. So for those of you that don't know, I'm sure everyone, or a good majority of chat knows, that is the core of the GPU right there. Everything else is cooling related. So
you keep all the thermal pads intact.
Look at that cooler. What are you gonna do with that cooler?
It is a beast, dude. You think how beefy this thing is?
Well, let me swap cameras real quick so you can show people.
It's a beast of a cooler.
That is a beast.
I love this camera, dude. It just, as soon as I wave my hand in front of it, it's ridiculous. Some people say the back of this thing looks like a Dodge Charger.
It does, doesn't it?
Can you guesstimate for us how big that is?
The cooler?
Yeah.
That's my whole forearm.
Okay.
From my elbow to my wrist. That's how big this cooler is.
That's about 0.8 Trisha.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
I like that.
It's a little inside joke for those of you watching the stream earlier. All right, so that GPU is just going to sit there. I know he's grabbing some more stuff.
Yes, sir.
So let me see if there's a video clip I can show you guys. So actually, someone was asking about the tubes. I saw someone in chat. I forgot. Oh, their name's gone. But someone was asking if the tubes were pre-cut and pre-bent, and we did.
Yes.
Because it takes time. I know we're doing the GPU stuff now, but let me show you the tube cut. We're probably going to show the tube cut video multiple times because I really like this. Is probably my favorite video clip. So let's take a look.
Yes, show me. I want to see this masterpiece.
So there's the toolkit that PJ's using. So he's cutting the tubes there. And PJ, you can feel free to chime in here because this is you doing it.
Yeah, is that your heat
Corsair
gun just
XT.
over there on the side?
Excuse me?
Is that a heat gun over there on the side too?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of tubing are you using?
We're using the 14 millimeter frosted XT Hydro X tubing from Corsair.
Okay.
So it gives it that ice cold, that icy look, like it's freezing. Look at that. That is so cool. Again, me, I still get a kick out of watching these little clips like this.
Dude, this is an art form.
I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous watching this happen like here in the room. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. And I slowed it down because this is a very big reveal there on how the tube is, completely bent. And then we're gonna swap to the other camera because the camera can get it. So I told him, hey, swap to the other camera.
Yeah, you want to make sure when you're doing those tubings that you don't actually have the tube so close to the heat gun itself. I know that it's so easy to just want to keep it close when you're trying to heat those up for anybody who does hardline tubing. But the closer you keep it to it, especially depending on the temperature you have it at, it will start bubbling up and leave little spots onto the tube itself if you don't do it right. And you don't want that to seep, because even if you think like, oh, maybe if I fill it up with some liquid, it won't show. Yeah, when you light up your system, especially if you have RGBs, you will specifically see those little spots on the tubing itself. So you don't want that to happen. If that happens, like that's a automatic do-over.
I saw Harbchan in chat asked if these were plastic or glass tubes.
These are they are not plastic, and they're like a mixture of glass and plastic together.
Okay.
Because what happens is that Corsair actually has this really cool, like, I want to say their tech in their Hydro X tubing, that when you use it, what happens is that their tubing itself doesn't oxidize, and it doesn't create a stain or something inside like most different tubings other manufacturers would have. I've recognized that with previous tubing companies that we used before, that when you heat something up and you bend it, it'll look perfectly fine, but 6 months down the line, when it needs to be maintenanced or something, and you drain the tubing, the liquid that's inside it, no matter what liquid it is, will start to stain the inside of the tubing itself. So you can't get rid of it. Let's say you wanted to change your color. Oh, I don't want red anymore. I want to use clear. So you'll drain the entire system, but yet the system itself has been stained by the liquid, the tubing. So when you go to put clear liquid in it, it looks very light pink now. But with the glass tubing that Corsair has, no matter what liquid you put into it, as soon as you take it out, it drains. It doesn't stick to anything. So it gives this illusion that it is glass. So that whole tech that they have doing that is very cool.
Shout out to everyone in chat who has now coined the term glass stick.
Glass stick. That's dope. I like that. Let's see. This sucker goes.
All right, so we have the GPU almost ready to go. He's making it look so easy. That's one thing.
I've never done this before. This is my first time, Lewis.
Come on.
Zap134 in chat says, what's the optimal temp that the heat gun has to be set to, along with the distance between the tube and the gun?
My optimum is with the 14 millimeter tubing, it has to be a little bit hotter than the 12 millimeter tubing. So I usually sit at around 650, 700 degrees. And I would keep, if my heat gun is here, let me see. If you want to switch the other camera, Lewis? Ideally, if this is my heat gun right here, if this is the base, I kind of play with it. I'll heat it up over here, and then I'll gradually pull it away a little bit. and I'll keep twisting the tube. You want to keep spinning the tube around, but you want to collect a surface about this much. You don't want to keep it so close, because if you do, you can cause the tube to actually kink, and you'll get like a little fold or bend in between the bend itself, or the 90 you're trying to do. So you want to get a little close. For me, my preference. Everybody probably has a different preference, but I get a little close, spin it, move it back and forth, and then I'll pull it away, and then I'll bring it closer. But I'll keep putting like a little bow, like I'll keep slowly and subtly bowing the tube until I start feeling it bend. Once it starts giving me a nice easy bend, I'll pull it away completely, because I have at least maybe 30, 40 seconds before it starts to, to cool off, and it'll dry up in the position that I need it to be in.
Cool.
I saw someone in chat talking about the radiators and the fans. So we'll let PJ handle the GPU for a second. We're going to jump to this radiator video. I know I got videos for days, guys. Calm down. All right, so over here in the video, he's unboxing the radiators, and then you can see the fans there. So the 4000X supports multiple fans. And I hate to say that with a capital M, because it's an insane amount of fans you can, fit into the case. So here in the video clip, you can see PJ get the fans together and mount it to the bracket, the radiator. And if I'm correct, I think you went with a 360 millimeter radiator and also the 120, right?
No, the front has they're actually for 140 fans. So the front radiator has a 420 millimeter, and the back rear fan is a 140 millimeter.
140, okay.
Yeah, there's 4 140 millimeter fans in this system. Wait, I'm sorry, correct. My apologies. Ready? 6 140 millimeter fans in this system, and 4 120 millimeter fans.
That's a lot of fans.
That's a lot of fans.
And then seeing a little bit more of the cable management there. But you can see the radiators and the fans being taken care of there. So hopefully that answers that question for the person that was talking about that. I had that video ready to go. I'm like, oh, they're talking about the radiators. I have a video about that. I'm so excited. Anyways, let's get back to it. It's pretty much the mounting process, but there you go. All right, let's stop that.
Lewis has all them videos.
It's because, again, the time limit, if we had all the time in the world, PJ, how long do you think would the stream be?
If I had to build this system from conception to completion, we'd probably be here till 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon.
Eastern
time.
I know there's some people watching in Pacific and Central, and also all over the world. So Eastern time. So we started.
Yeah, if I started first thing in the morning, I could. I'm pretty sure I'd have this thing done by the end of workday.
So we're trying to have everything compact for you guys, and again, that's the reason I shot the footage for you guys, so you can see, the traditional live build stuff.
Yeah,
so
we didn't want to leave anybody out. Like, oh, look, they're just throwing they're starting a computer 3/4 built, and they didn't explain how they did it. So
yeah,
we had the idea of it'd be kind of cool if we just at least shot a little B-roll video of the steps that we took to building the computer, so everybody sees, that, we did have some time to put it together. But for any other reason, if they gave me all day, just like they sat me in front of a camera on a Twitch stream and just said, hey, go to town and just build a computer all day, I would do it. Just throw a little, like my preference, a little lo-fi hip-hop in the background, and we're good to go.
Good old lo-fi hip-hop.
I love that.
I appreciate you taking your time with the build, though, on stream now. I follow a lot of channels that I feel like tend to do speed builds, even when they're not intending to do a speed build, just to fit within the time constraints of like a 3-hour stream, say.
Agreed.
But it's nice to just kind of see the relaxed, this is how a build normally goes approach.
Absolutely. I mean, well, I can't, like, again, we can't speak for everybody else, but definitely for us, I enjoy it. I really, really do. Especially like the live builds, most people think that, don't you cringe or get a little nervous that you might do something wrong? I was like, that comes with it, but I enjoy it. I like the feedback. I like the vibe that some people come in and they like to talk. They want to chit chat about what I'm doing. They might question why I do certain methods, but I enjoy every single bit of this. I'm so happy that I'm in this position.
Well, and sometimes chat might see things that you don't otherwise. I mean, for me,
Correct.
If given the choice to do a build by myself or to invite over a friend who also builds just to be an extra set of eyeballs with me, I will always choose hang out and build with a friend. And streaming is really just kind of like hanging out and building with lots of friends.
It's true. I love
if I could
seeing
do that after hours. That would be fantastic.
And chat, I gotta give you guys credit. You guys are extremely knowledgeable, some of you. And you sometimes you chime in, sometimes you talk about the static stuff, the part locations, the cable locations, just things to challenge us. And sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I don't. And sometimes, I be honest with you guys, sometimes like I don't have the answer to that. I usually defer to PJ to answer. But it's really cool having chat on board, giving us
Are
the
they
questions
asking?
and going back and forth.
Is chat asking where my wristband is?
No one brought it up. I didn't see it.
I actually did see one or two.
Oh,
of
you saw
those
one.
earlier.
Okay.
All right. I don't use a wristband. I have what's actually. I don't have it in here. I put it on before I start building. It's a zero charge hand lotion, so I won't get any static on my hands.
I also see that you're not standing on carpet. You're standing on some kind of plastic.
Yeah.
Yep. And is that probably an anti-static mat that you're building on would be my guess?
That and when I do come in here sometimes, because I like to use the stream room to build some of my systems, if I do make a mess with some of the shavings from the hardline tubing, it's much easier to sweep it up on this plastic than it is to try to pull it out of the carpet.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, let me
For
move this out of
sure.
the way.
Alex
I'm
H
sorry.
in chat wanted to know if all of PJ's audio is coming from a Corsair Virtuoso.
Yes. There it is.
Woohoo!
Yes, it is. Right.
And I see Captain Crash 1123 says, I'm assuming I missed it. What fans are those? QL 120, QL 140?
SP, right?
These are all SP Elite fans. So we have, like I said, there's 7 SP Elite 140 fans and 4 SP Elite 120 fans. So we have a total of 11 fans in this monster.
That's crazy.
This thing's so cool. All right, let me get back to work. Sorry, I start staring at it like, oh man, this thing's so cool. All right, so let's roll up my mat.
Just keep doing your thing, PJ. I see people in chat talking about giveaway number 3, which is now live. They are correct. Giveaway number 3 is now live at originpc.com/Corsair Live. And that one is for an AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT, and an ASUS ROG Strix B5500 or B550 motherboard. I'm sorry. It's quite a bundle.
Is that what do you mean bundle? That's 3 giveaways, or you're giving all that to one person?
That's one person. One person.
And I can't sign up for this?
No.
Come on. I don't. Can we just say I don't work for us for like 5 minutes and then I can? No, it doesn't work that way.
No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry.
Chat's so lucky, man.
So for those of you in chat, again, these giveaways, the 3 giveaways that we're running are going to be live for 24 hours. So if you're watching the stream, enter now, or for whatever reason, it might not be working for you, like it was earlier for some people. You have 24 hours to enter. You can tell your friends, tell your family, but we're not posting about this on social media. This is exclusive only to you guys watching the stream and people who watch the VOD afterwards. So let me swap cameras over here. Go to main. Now we're going to Epoch, up close and personal. So all the giveaways, like majority of the giveaways are now live. So again, feel free to enter at originpc.com/Corsair Live if you haven't done so already.
I love that you just had that little slip up, Lewis. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yes,
I know.
3 of the giveaways are now live. But I know at the very beginning of the stream, for those of you who've been watching since 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, I did say there would be something pretty cool at the end. So that still stands. But yeah, this 3rd giveaway, it's the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X processor, the AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT, and the Asus ROG Strix B550F gaming motherboard. So quite a nice bundle right there for sure.
And again, 24 hours. Originally, we had intended the giveaways to be 45 minutes, but we realized, number one, the issues in the beginning, and number two, there were people watching this after the stream, but they were probably aware of the stream, but they wouldn't be able to watch. Again, these are worldwide giveaways, so even if you're watching the stream after the fact, you still have time to enter. Oh, our phone has died, but that's okay. We have a second camera.
That's okay. And I know we were kind of talking about Epoch Cam earlier. But if there's anyone at home watching this who wants to try Epoch Cam, there's a free version and a pro version on the Apple Store right now if you want to check it out for yourself. I am not an iFriend. I'm all Android, so I will not be checking this out personally. But if anybody does and wants to report back their findings, I would love to hear it. Hit me up on social media.
Oh, man, I think I mentioned it to my team. It's like, hey, man, give us the Android version. But I know there's a bunch of technical stuff behind the scenes
Yeah.
get the
Oh,
Epoch
yeah.
Cam working on Android. I know people in chat were talking about that as well. But the Apple camera is fantastic. So everyone's putting an effort chat for that camera. Camera's fine. Yeah, see, it's right there. You guys are giving me F in chat. Here's your F. I'm Uno swapping to you guys. There you go. Is that what you wanted?
I wonder
PJ
how
was
many
muted.
people would have actually not said anything had you not told them it was an actual iPhone. Just check out this new camera we got. It was, oh, it's fantastic. Oh, it's an iPhone.
Well,
oh, I
it
don't like
says-
it anymore.
It says it on screen. So
Oh, I knew that. I was just testing everybody to make sure their visuals were working.
All right, everyone's
here's a question from Aditya Deor. Says, can we fit two 360 millimeter radiators in the 7000X case?
Absolutely. You can actually fit one. You can fit two. No, not a 480. You can fit one 360 here. You can fit another 360 here. You can fit another one at the top. You can fit up to three 360 millimeter fans in here, or radiators. My apologies. You could put one 480 millimeter. I would say two, but unfortunately, the 480 millimeters are they're like yay thick. So you can put one in the back, and one 480 millimeter would be more than enough to cool the CPU and GPU off itself. But if you want like Jay said, sometimes the more radiators, the better. I'm with him. I like having a lot of traffic and a lot of these tubes just passing and crisscrossing everywhere. So if this was my particular build, I would probably go that way. I would probably go three 360s or maybe two and do the 120 in the back. But since the 7000X is giving me the opportunity to work with these bigger size fans and the bigger radiators, I do dig them. So, I mean, either or it's not a preference of what size fan. I just know that the bigger fans actually carry a lot more airflow through them at a lower RPM. It doesn't need to be ramped up as fast as a 120 millimeter does.
So I was going to add to that. On the Corsair's website, it says you can use up to 3 simultaneous 360 millimeter radiators, roof, side, front, 2 simultaneous 420 millimeter, or 2 simultaneous 420 millimeters radiators, roof in the front, or even a 480 millimeter radiator on the side. So you can, create crazy loops like you're seeing here on stream. So you can find all the information on Corsair's website, so corsair.com. You guys know where to go.
Woohoo, look how nice that is. Also, excellent use of the Lazy Susan.
Gracias. That's Spanish for I know. I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So, Trisha, we spent time talking about the PC and, PJ doing his work there. But you yourself are an incredible personality and have been all over the gaming sphere and tech sphere. I got to start with some questions for you now because you are a special guest. It's so weird because, you were the host in the beginning, and now I'm kind of the host for the second part. But you're
You
here,
definitely are.
You're such a great personality to, be around in terms of, for the build in general. It's like, what do we do now? We have Trisha here. What do we talk about? But let's talk about your first PC build. What was it, and how did it go?
My first start to finish build was probably in college, and I say that because I was much younger than that when I started modding.
Modding in games or modding PCs?
Modding PCs, as far as very, very light modding PCs. So upgrading components, etc. So the TLDR is my parents, when I was little, thought that playing hours and hours and hours of video games a week was unbecoming for a young lady. So they said, after I had the Nintendo Entertainment System, they said, no more games for you, ma'am. So I was not allowed to. I never had a Super NES or a Sega Genesis or an N64.
I'm so sorry.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I know. But we did have a computer in the house for schoolwork.
Isn't it funny how parents they automatically assume consoles are just your only gateway to video games?
Right. So I remember this was so funny. This was back when PC games came in those large, boxes. I remember.
Oh, we know.
Like
boxes.
You want to get my background, Lewis? Like this behind me, this glorious wall of games.
All those. And so we'll see if you have the original Doom box back there. Do you have it?
We don't. I know. No. Trust me, I would know if we had it. We don't.
I was nitpicking at one of them yesterday. Just I wonder if this game's in here. And I pulled out the original Need for Speed Underground. The game is still in there, immaculate condition with the key on it.
Nice.
I was like, I want to take that home.
But yeah, I remember getting the box for the original Doom game, and reading off the back of it. This is how long ago this was, to my dad, who, my parents, I love them. They are not gamers. They are not into PC tech like at all. And telling my dad, like, hey, Dad, the back of this says I need 4 MB of RAM. How do I get 4 MB of RAM? Mind you, I was probably like 6 or 7. But I wanted to play new games, and I had maxed out the Nintendo Entertainment System. I had been to every garage sale, buying up old NES games off everyone else who had upgraded to a Sega or a Super Nintendo, and I was maxed out and needed something else. So anyway, I learned from like a super young age how to add more RAM to my PC. And from there, you know, I slowly figured out how to upgrade to meet my gaming needs. But the first time I ever built start to finish, I think was college, because I was too poor. And again, my buying secondhand things skill came in, and I had bought enough stuff secondhand and like bought other people's towers, like full builds that they weren't using anymore secondhand, to like disassemble and Frankenstein.
Yes,
together.
that was the word I was just about to use. Like sometimes you buy a couple of PCs.
That's exactly what happened in my life. It did not post first time, I will say. But I was able to troubleshoot enough that eventually I figured it out. And then that Franken build lasted me probably 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it lasted a while. Now I had some upgrades in there. And then once after that, I moved out to LA. And then I had a nicer build once I had moved out to LA and got a job and had some secured income. And instead of having to, you know, worry about everyone else's secondhand components, I was able to buy new components and build the build that I wanted to build. But you know, most of my builds that I have done have not been for commercial use or for resale or anything like that. I have built for friends who are just like, hey, I can't afford a build right now. And I kind of did the same thing that I did originally, but for them, where I was like, I have old stuff lying around that, I mean, is old to me only because I'm constantly trying to upgrade to the latest and greatest.
Of course.
But it's like, you know, last year's latest and greatest. So I can build them something from my used parts. And I've done that for friends of mine before that either aren't necessarily into PC building themselves, or, you know, may not have the funds at a given time to build a new pre-built. But I mean, yeah, never for like someone who's paying for the build like you guys. So I consider myself much more of an enthusiast PC builder than a professional PC builder. You guys are the pros.
Your friends must be incredibly thankful though, because the fact that, you know, you just pulling out some parts or helping them put stuff together is fantastic. I do the same for my friends too. I help them out because they usually come to me. They're like, "Hey, I need help." So
I never have that problem. Nobody ever comes to me for help.
I ask PJ for help too. So on that college build, I was gonna say, what was the game that motivated you to get that, you know, the PC, like your own first PC? Because for everyone I ask or I talk to, it's always a game that's like, I couldn't play it on another platform, but there's a game on PC I've been dying to play, and this is the game that pushed me over the edge to do so. What were the games that led you that path?
I want to say, I'm trying to think what I played a lot of then. It was probably one of the later games in the Myst series, because those games were so stunningly beautiful, like for that time.
Absolutely.
That playing those games in all of their glory definitely would have been a driving motivator. But it was mostly at that time, it was just that the build that I had going into college was getting old. It just wasn't kicking it anymore. But it would have probably been Diablo 2 and or one of the later Myst games like Riven or something like that.
Cool. I see chat's also chiming in on this question that I just asked, and everyone's saying, let's see, we got some WoW in chat, EverQuest, Battlefield 2, Crysis.
For me, it was I'm an old soul, so for me it was Wolfenstein 3D. When it came on a 3.5 floppy.
The floppies.
Episode 1.
Oh man.
Yeah, guess that gives you an idea how old I am.
Quake, Diablo.
Before I had the Nintendo, my dad got like a super hand-me-down Com64 because Nintendo was out and I was asking for a Nintendo. And again, my parents were like, I don't know that you need that video game stuff. And then someone that my dad works with was like, hey, I'm getting rid of this, because they, I guess, had upgraded their family to the NES or something like that. And my dad was like, is that video games? I'll take that for my kid. So some of my first ever games were COM64. And I know every time I say that, everybody's like, how old are you, ma'am? I'm like, listen, it was hand-me-down, okay? But yes, text-based adventures like Zork are where it's at, okay?
True. I'm personally, I'm a fan of the Jumpstart series games, also Putt Putt and those games for educational and old school PC games, because they're technically PC games. I know they're educational, but they are PC games. You can find them on
Number
Steam and other
chompers.
platforms. So they're out there.
They are. I mean, I remember all the old like Monkey's Island, King's Quest.
Yep.
Where in the World
Oh,
is Carmen
King's
San
Quest.
Diego?
I remember one time sitting with my stepbrothers playing King's Quest, and we got so frustrated playing it that we just kept on having this Minotaur annihilate us every single time we walked into a cave. I was like, dude, I give up on this game. Just walked away from it. Didn't know
I
how to fight the
remember
Minotaur.
playing Return to Zork, which was a CD-ROM game, if anyone ever played that. But they had actually used live action video for the actors. So it
Yep.
had cutscenes. It was probably the
Yep.
first thing I ever experienced that had a cutscene type moment in it. And I just remember being totally blown away by it.
All
There's
the live
actual
action
movie scenes in
stuff.
this video game we're gonna play. Yeah, that would blow anybody's mind at that time.
And Wing Commander was the one that I remember seeing. It's like being like, wait, there's like a movie in the game? What? But it's cool to see, where games have come. Of course, it's always a typical thing. It's like, oh man, I can't remember Doom and about Doom Eternal. It's
Yep.
just like to see the evolution. So, after college,
Command and Conquer. I'm
Command and
watching
Conquer.
people in chat just shout out like,
No, it's
I'm
true.
like,
It's
yes,
just
Lord, like
nonstop.
magic. Yes, Command and Conquer. Let's go.
I guess I should probably chime in with mine. So mine were Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2. Those were the games that definitely pushed me to the edge. Half-Life 2 specifically because I would see it in game magazines. And of course, we're like, man, this game looks amazing. How can I play it? I have an Xbox. You can't. It's on
Little ones
PC.
for me. It was the Wolfenstein, and then it became it was Doom, and then when ID gave that platform to actually people to make their own games like Doom, started playing like Duke Nukem and everything else.
The
Every
mods.
first-person shooter I can get my hands on was just awesome. But then I'd be lying if I said that I ended up going back to console because I thought console was just a lot more simpler to play. But then coming back over here to work over here at Origin when I started, everybody was on PC and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna play this game tonight. You in?" And I'm like, "I don't have a computer. I have an Xbox." And they're like, "Yeah, no, you need a PC." So, and the misconception for everybody who thinks that just because you work for a computer company you get whatever you want. No, it took me I want to say a good 2-3 years to put my rig together. So you can't just get everything you want just because you work for places.
That is very true. I have people hit me up all the time and ask if I have industry connections to get them a 3090. And I'm like, dude, I do not. I wish I did.
Like, yeah, I have industry connections, but even I want a 3090 and I can't even get my hands on one.
I had to get mine myself. I didn't use my Origin connection or other connections to get it. I did my own legwork and grinded and spent months on the Discords and all these different tracking sites to finally get my own 3090.
There's a good example. Like, remember when we Lewis, when we put the PC together for T-Pain, who's actually a Corsair sponsor. He remember when they did the video, and the first thing he looked at, he goes, "Wait a minute, is that the new 30 series video card?"
It's true, yeah.
And they
he
told him,
freaked
"Yeah."
out.
He fell on the floor and he started
Yeah, he fell
screaming,
on the floor.
"You guys have no idea how long I've been trying to get my hands on one of these, and I can't."
That was a genuine reaction, by the way. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't seen the video, I believe it's on Corsair's YouTube page, or
I believe so.
yeah, there's a video of him reacting to it, and he's just freaking out because he knows, like, with the GPU, it's like, oh my gosh. So
Just wait a minute, is that what I think it is?
yeah, but in this build, we're using the Radeon 6900 XT, which is an excellent GPU,
Oh my.
perfect for games, perfect for professional work, and I can't wait to see the cooling. And it's funny, you see the build right now, and everything but the tubes for the most part is in. So we're almost there, guys. Almost there.
It looks amazing.
I don't know if I have enough time. No, I'm kidding.
No, we have plenty of time. So just an FYI for those of you watching, we have about
I was
45
just
minutes left.
I was just joking.
So
Let me see.
just
What do we got here?
let everyone know.
What else do we got here? Okay, so if we have the GPU installed, we have the memory installed, we have the CPU installed, CPU block. Let's start getting into installing these fittings.
All right,
Now,
hold on,
I
see
have to say,
someone.
I have not worked with a lot of hard tube cooling, custom loop cooling. The only liquid cooling I've ever done in my personal builds has been all in one. So I'm
Mhm.
very interested to watch this part and to also ask you, this is a question for both Lewis and PJ.
Mhm.
Once you get in all of these, beautiful tubes going the direction you want them to go, what do you do if you need to swap out RAM or something? Do you have to take them all back out?
No. One of the first thing the first thing that we do here at Origin for even in manufacturing when they build these hardline systems is they figure out a way to get the tubes to either stick out at least this far away from the memory, or they'll actually loop it around below it or above it. So
Okay,
for any maintenance, you can still pull the memory out. This setup
cool.
right here, I actually have a 90 that comes down, but under the memory and then goes back up into the reservoir. So you can still pull the memory out with ease without having to worry about, having to drain the system or pull the tubes out to actually pull the memory out.
Got it.
There's a way around it. I know it's sometimes those tubes look intimidating and like, oh no, what do I do? But there's ways.
And these are actually pre-done. So like I said, I did make a replica of the first system. So
Actually, are you gonna pull out the tubes now?
yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the tubes. He's gonna bring them out over here on an angled cam. So again, these are all pre-cut. I showed the video earlier. I can probably show it again while he's bringing them out of tube cutting in general. I'll just play it for people that
And
might
I
have missed
just
it
saw
earlier.
someone else in chat, and I'm sorry I didn't see who asked it, said, is it the same for M.2 additions or replacements?
PJ.
It's the same as, I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
My question about RAM, except for with M.2s.
So like,
Oh no,
replace...
the RAM can actually be removed as well. I mean, you would need a smaller size screwdriver, but if you can get a small Phillips screwdriver, you're still accessible to the M.2.
Okay.
Everything is still accessible.
All right, so we're just showing that tubing video again. I really like this video. It's just really cool to see it happen.
It feels to me like when you go to a Ren fair and just stand there at the glass blowing booth forever.
True, very true. Except, it's for PC hardware, not pots and vases.
Right.
So.
But equally as satisfying.
All right.
Pre-record. Yeah. People are laughing. It's pre-recorded. I mean, what do you want me to do? Have PJ bring out the saw and all the whole kit? I mean, we could, but that would take up a lot of time. We're very limited on time, so I'm sorry, guys. We try. Just gonna swap to the second camera real quick here in my pre-recorded video, and then we're gonna jump back to see the tubes. And there it is. No little crevices. It's all smooth. Thank you very much, PJ from the past.
PJ from a week ago.
When I was doing these or cutting these videos, I was like, this is so weird because we're using flashbacks and flash forwards to this build. So it's almost kind of like a Quentin Tarantino or like Christopher Nolan-esque movie where they use both flash forwards and flashbacks. But we're getting the point across. This is, the build overall. I think I'm missing, let's see what videos I'm missing that chat hasn't seen. Took care of the motherboard. We took care of the RGB strips. The cable management we saw. Radiators we saw. We're just missing the power supply and the XD5 and how PJ took care of that. But we can watch those later. We have plenty of time. All right, let's take a look at chat. Actually,
if you want to run the B-roll of the actual the reservoir being installed, that's cool because it's actually
no, we get that for later.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Trisha, so events are coming back. We've had a year of no events, and I know you've been to plenty of events. Which event or events are you looking forward to the most after being eventless for the past year?
Oh, that's such a tough question. Probably it's got to be a three-way tie between CES, E3, and San Diego Comic-Con for me, because they hit different parts of what I like so much in this industry, right? Like CES allows me to geek out about stuff that might either never come to retail, or if we do see it in retail, might not be there for 8 to 10 years. And I like being able to see that stuff in prototype phase, but actually working. Like it just kind of helps to get the creative juices flowing as to which direction consumer electronics is going to go next. And I know there's a lot of people who do what we do, Lewis and PJ, that really don't like CES for a myriad of reasons. But for me, seeing stuff in design and prototype phase is super cool. Now, that being said, I know CES is going to be in person this year. But I feel like CES is the one show where everybody gets real sick anyway, even not. Like no global pandemic. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go in person this year or kind of watch from afar. But I do love CES and E3. I really like normally for the hands-on demos and for the opportunities to speak to devs and game designers in all different areas of the game design process and have those conversations, which I think E3 going all virtual this year really lost out on those parts of it that make it so special for someone like me. So if it does come back in person, I look forward to those moments. Like I got to have a great conversation with one of the historians that works on the Assassin's Creed series. And this was right before Odyssey came out. But like this guy that I was speaking to, his whole job is to research classical Greece and make sure that it's incorporated into the game correctly. And just the conversation I was able to have with him was so fascinating. So I miss moments like that. I miss seeing everybody's cosplay and creativity and just utter.
I do miss the cosplays. I do cosplay myself occasionally. Not super crazy, but
If I may, can I tell her my favorite cosplay of yours?
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead.
It was for Halloween. He actually won first place. He came as the original Doom main screen. He was the face at the bottom of the screen that always, for the 100%,
Of course you did.
that would get affected.
Yeah, that was my first Halloween contest. I've done previous Halloween contests at the company before, but yeah, it was just
That
like
and
a Doom screen.
That one and Jon Snow are your top ones, buddy.
Oh yeah, I can see
Come
that.
on.
You do a great job. Now.
Yeah, I had my hair's longer now, but back then it was a little bit shorter, so it was pretty accurate to the show.
I think it's still accurate.
No, it's
That's
way too
awesome.
long.
But yeah, and I mean San Diego Comic-Con, definitely for the cosplay, of course, because you get to see so much cosplay, even more so than like at an E3 or something like that. And San Diego Comic-Con is where I get my fix of. I'm a big fantasy and sci-fi fan as well, so that's where I get my fix on all that kind of entertainment. And I read a fair amount of comics. Not necessarily like I like Marvel and DC, but I'm much more in the Image, Vertigo kind of fandoms. And into some more indie stuff. So yeah, I mean, those would be my three again, because they kind of like attack all angles of the stuff that I like. But of course, hey, BlizzCon, where are you at? Like, there's definitely other conventions that I'm like, please come back because I would love to be there.
I can't wait for QuakeCon to come back. This year they're doing a digital event, understandably, but I know I have a pass waiting for me at QuakeCon. I have a seat. It's there. It's waiting for me. It's coming. So, have you been to QuakeCon, Trisha?
I have not been to QuakeCon.
Oh, that's
sell me on it.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, QuakeCon is a massive LAN party. So, when I went, I think it was about 3,000, 5,000 or so people in a giant convention hall. They would bring their own rigs, whether it's a laptop, full desktop, or custom builds. Like, I'm talking over the top builds. You could probably, if you Google search QuakeCon custom PCs, you'll see galleries of custom PCs that people bring to QuakeCon. And it's cool to, see everyone, the games everyone's playing, and the cases everyone has. And if you're a fan of, Bethesda, its software games, it's also a cool place to see the developers and interact with them and play with them. It's crazy to think that, like, oh, we're going to play some Quake together. But if you're a fan of those games, it's definitely a must in at least once in your life to do so. It's basically, people like to compare it to like Woodstock or PC gaming Woodstock, and it's about that with all the fun quirks that PC gaming brings. So everyone brings projectors, so sometimes they play videos on there that are really goofy, whether it's just like GIF loops or whatever meme is currently popular at the time. It's quite an experience, and if you at least have some kind of inkling to PC game, you have to owe it to yourself to go at least once.
Okay.
Just seeing like all the PCs together, and once you're there, if you go with a group of friends, even better, because you get a table together. All of you can get together and play your favorite games. Granted, it can get a little crowded because it's everyone's packed in together, but it's fun to everyone be doing almost the same thing. PC gaming and PC hardware.
Lewis, have you brought your PC with you, or like did you have a laptop or something when you got?
So the previous times I've gone to QuakeCon, I've used Origin laptops because it's powerful enough, play games and do everything on there. But for future QuakeCons, I will be bringing my custom desktop. I call it the travel PC. So it's designed to toss in an airplane and nothing will break because it's all metal.
What size is it?
Say. It's a mid tower, so it can fit in a check bag.
Okay.
And some
Wow,
people,
really?
what they do, yeah. I measured it. It's
my
like
gosh.
a really compact mid tower that can fit.
I
in
was
your
gonna
check bag.
say, what kind
He
of
just said- he goes,
mid
"It
tower
fits
is
in-
that, my dude?
He
No,
just told me
it
it fits in
fits.
my carry-on, and I was like, wait a minute.
No,
hold on,
not
bring
carry.
that
Check.
back.
I said check.
My
check.
check bag. But
Yeah.
still, you put it in your check bag. That's a pretty compact computer, unless it's taking up the entire bag.
I see people in chat referencing QuakeCon. Thank you guys.
Still, I
You're
would
out
also
there. You're out
have
there.
a heart attack to check a bag with my PC in it. You know how they throw those things around.
No, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But what other people do is they ship their PCs. So they use FedEx or UPS to ship the PC to
Okay.
Texas, and they ship it back home. I know on the Sundays for Sunday or Monday in QuakeCon, I see people using the FedEx in the convention center to ship it back home. It's already they prepaid for it, so it's like a flight for your PC. So
I get it.
s-
All right, I'm watching these tubes be installed, and while PJ, I totally believe you when you say once they're all in, you can still get to the M.2, but it looks tight.
If I can get these monstrous hands in there to get that M.2, I'm sure you can.
I know.
I can
have
see how he
no-
does
I have
it, though.
no room to complain with my tiny hands.
If I could, I don't have images, but if I can, I know Lewis had seen it. The Hydro X 4000, the 4000X that I did the Hydro Copper in.
Mm-hmm.
That system is so compact, and everybody looked at it like there's no way you're gonna get that system. You're gonna be able to tube that system up, and I was able to knock that one out too. But this is just it's so accessible, man. I like the idea of the second res on the other video that we were watching, so I might want to actually utilize that on a different type of build. I really like the dual res setup. They made it look
Speaking
so
of the
seamless.
res and the pump, I think this is a good time to show everyone the
Nice.
XD5 up close.
Let's do it.
Let's take a look. All right, there it is. So here's PJ showing off the box of the XD5 RGB whites. Of course, it's got some RGB lighting. Link to IQ, and it's white, so it matches the style of the case.
Perfect.
All right, let's get out of the box, PJ, from the past. There we go. Some high-speed building, getting it set up. I think we're gonna swap cameras. Yeah, there you go.
Now, I
think the video
noticed
ended-
that
there we go.
that reservoir you said has RGB. So are you guys actually using a colored liquid, or is it a clear liquid and you're just using the RGB to make the color?
Oh, PJ, you're muted.
My apologies. So we're using red.
Okay.
I think we're almost done. Yeah, the video's done. Pretty much. So there you go. That's that XC5, which you'll see in a bit. Oh, that's the Ryzen, but we already saw that. So let's get out of here.
Burst Couch Gamer says, is this time travel? Yes.
Yes, that's what this stream is pretty much. We're just, going back and forth. Oh, who did that? Someone's putting up a picture of one of my award-winning cosplays. Oh, that was like a lazy one. It's called Master Chef, for those of you who don't know.
I was going to say, are you Master Chief cooking something? That's hilarious.
Because I'm not control. I have control over the panels, but someone behind the scenes thought they were gonna be clever and put up one of my award-winning costumes.
Kudos to behind the scenes team. Well played.
One of my favorite costumes will have to be the Kako Demon. I don't know if you guys can get the Kako Demon outfit I made. Good luck, because it is on Twitter somewhere. So people posted of it, but the Kako Demon cosplay I'd made for QuakeCon 2019. Good luck. That one's I think that one's my favorite because of the mission to make it, ship it, and wear it. It was a total mission. And after doing that,
did you make the Master Chief helmet yourself?
No, that was all store bought. That was a closet cosplay. Okay. I just woke up that morning. I'm like, the Halloween contest is today. I don't have anything. Let me just put something together. And then I ended up winning. I was like, how did I win? So
Master Chef.
Ooh.
That's hilarious, dude.
So that outfit I came up with for a local convention here in Miami, and I was like, you know what? It's goofy. I have this old Master Chief outfit I have, and I figured grab some chef accessories and walk around, and it got probably the most reactions I'd ever gotten from my other more expensive cosplays. And I'm like, this costs nothing, and it was just a ton of fun to do. And so there you go. Go low budget, you'll have more fun.
You know what? I always say that to people that are interested in getting into cosplay, but feel like they don't have the budget or they don't have the costume creation skills. You know, I'm like, just do what's fun for you. I think there's a lot of people out there that'll just appreciate you expressing your love for the character. And yes, while there is most definitely an appreciation for your skills as you know, if you pattern costumes, if you're the seamstress, if you've made all the armor yourself, if you've done the wig design, if you've done the makeup, of course there's an appreciation for that. But really what it's all about is just expressing your favorite fandom and your passion.
Absolutely.
I see
Whatever
someone
it
in
is you
chat
could think
saying,
of, make it your own. But I applaud and I commend the people who actually like to just keep it true to the original. That they make it so well that you actually wonder if they actually got it from the studio themselves.
So just to add to the cosplay commentary, someone was saying they found a Cacodemon cosplay. There's 2 Cacodemon cosplays at QuakeCon 2019. There's a big fluffy one. That guy was amazing, by the way. He's super funny. And then there's the 2D sprite one. The 2D sprite one was mine.
Nice.
And that one, just to describe it, instead of I've had pictures I was showing you guys, but just describe it. So it's 3 layers basically, or multiple layers. So you have the regular Cacodemon, and then if I can move the mouth up and down, so it would create the effect as if the Cacodemon was shooting like a fireball at you. And then if you turned around, you could actually see the Cacodemon's backside with the infamous 2 holes that no one talks about, or no one likes to talk about. So, or everyone likes to talk about. So, but it was a fun costume to put together and ship. I think shipping was the challenge for that one. But now I know feature reference what to do for that. So,
what did you make it out of?
So that was just paper and cardboard, all paper and cardboard. Just, you know, solid cardstock, a good color printer, and just cutting it together. And when, like, it's like a giant puzzle. So when you put everything together and from far away, it has this effect like, oh my gosh, that's like a 2D Cacodemon straight from the game. And then the funny part is, like, when I take a picture with someone, or I took a picture at QuakeCon, I would just have the normal Cacodemon face, and then I would all of a sudden open up, and then you'd see, like, the mouth effect, the fireball blast effect, and people would legitimately freak out. They'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do that. So that was the fun aspect of that cosplay, to make it not just like stand still, but have some motion to it to create that game effect. So
that's so fun. I see a build question in chat. Sylogem is asking what size motherboards the 7000 series will support.
It'll support an ATX and even an EATX motherboard.
No surprise.
So yeah,
it's a big case.
Says EATX specifically.
What you would do, I'm sorry, I have my elbow in the way, but you can actually take this plate cover off, and with the plate cover off, you can actually extend the motherboard out this far.
Cool.
So even, it'll take the biggest motherboard you can put in.
Awesome.
I'm going to finish off the cosplay discussion with a question for you, Trisha. I know you've done cosplays yourself. What's your favorite in recent years that you've done?
Great question. Probably the new DCEU Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Just because that, and I didn't build all of that one myself. But I did and I say that because I did a Wonder Woman years before where I kind of designed and built a leather armor-esque version, almost like a Roman armor kind of take on Wonder Woman's costume. But my build skills were not all the way there. It looked okay. It turned out okay, but like the boning and in the front piece of armor buckled a little once I had it on for 4 to 5 hours. Things that until you really wear a cosplay at a con, you might not realize. And like the spray that I used to make sure the boots were the color I wanted started flaking off, so I didn't use the right spray. But I feel like with every cosplay you build, you learn a little bit more. But anyway, my more recent DCEU Wonder Woman, the boots and bodice were made by ID Replicas.
Okay.
And I had to have it altered because I'm a tiny human and their small was still big on me. But once I kind of figured out how to do some of the leather working and mold it more to fit me, and then I had to do the God Killer set, so the sword and shield, as well as the tiara and armbands myself. So I thought it came together pretty well, and I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, I've done a wide variety of cosplays over the years. And I mean, my first one started with me, no joke, putting it together with like staples and hot glue. So, but then each one you do, you learn a new skill. Like after that, I was like, okay, this next one I'm going to work with leather for the first time. This next one I'm going to do riveting for the first time. And you slowly but surely. And then I had one where I had to do wig design for the first time. I did Copperhead from Batman Arkham Origins.
Yep.
Which I didn't pull off the hair correctly because Copperhead has like an undercut and there's no way to
Yeah.
fake that with a wig. And I wasn't actually going to shave part of my head
Yeah.
for the cosplay. So it ended up kind of looking like a punky Miley Cyrus wig. But it was as close as I could get it. But like I said, you learn and build a little bit more each time. And because everyone told me for a long time when the latest Star Wars trilogy came out that I looked like Daisy Ridley, I had to do a Rey. So that's a really fun one too.
Always fun to just, put on the outfit, get the lightsaber, and
oh, great time.
have
And I
fun.
mean, between Wonder Woman, Rey, and I've also done a Peggy Carter, those are all ones that were also very popular with kids and particularly little girls. So it was fun for me to be at cons and like see little girls at conventions like asking to take a picture with me. That was super, super fun and gratifying and rewarding.
That's cool. And do you dress up for conventions or other events as well?
Mostly just cons. I mean,
Okay.
Again, I'm not a professional cosplayer. I just do it for fun. I mean, I like attending conventions. I always have. And I just always thought it was more fun to attend in costume because if you have the option to go cosplay or no cosplay, why not cosplay?
That's what I always say. I always say that. I'm like, it's like, you can't not like, once you do it for the first time and you have that interaction of like you're dressed up as you put together this outfit and you interact with people that are in your same fandom or in the circles. And I think when I did the Hotline Miami cosplay, that's when it clicked for me. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this many people really liked Hotline Miami. Because people were freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought this was obscure indie game. This was like way before the game really blew up. And people like, no, they legitimately responded. I'm like, this is great. I should do this more often. Fast forward a couple of years, I keep doing it.
And I mean, even if it's like what I like to call a super lazy cosplay, where it's either, right off the shelf and barely modified, or I haven't done this one yet, but I'm going to, where it's like I just don't have time to put on a full cosplay, but I want to do something. I just want to like make a headband and put a Sims plumb bob above it.
That's hilarious.
Wear whatever you're going to wear, but just toss that on. And then you're still like, I don't know, for me, it would feel like I'm still participating in some way.
And someone will get a picture with you. It's like, oh, it's a Sim. So,
speaking of Sims, do you think we'll see a Sims 5 at EA Play this year?
Ooh. I have friends that are really into The Sims, and all of them are just like eagerly awaiting any sort of news. But I have some cynicism thinking no. But we'll see. I don't know. I would like to be wrong.
I mean, it's been a tough year for games studios overall. So not having huge announcements is kind of the norm we all expect at this point from 2021. But we'll see. I
mean, that said, Forza Horizon 5 from the Microsoft conference completely shocked me. I did not expect that. Because, going to these shows, you're kind of like, oh, I know what to expect for the most part. I follow the gaming news and have some ideas. Like so-and-so developer, so-and-so studio is working on this most likely. And then when you're watching the thing and you're all of a sudden Forza Horizon 5 and it looks that good, you're like, oh, man.
Right.
Racing PJ's Did you see Forza Horizon 5, PJ? He's a big racing guy.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I enjoyed it because there's a lot of actual YouTube influencers that I watch that do all these these incredible like car modifications to cars that they buy. Some of them actually they'll buy totaled cars, or not totaled cars, but something that can actually be salvaged, and they bring it back to its original look and then make it their own by doing these crazy modifications. And one of them in particular, that he makes these body kits for the new Corvettes and Lamborghinis and stuff. He actually has his company in the game now. So he put a video up that when they launched the trailer for it, he was like blown away because they're showing a scene of the new Corvette and it has the body kit that he created on the car. So he was like, "Oh my God, look, they put me in Forza! I can't believe it." So it's really cool, man. I'm super hyped for that. I'm super hyped for that game.
That's super fun. I see a bunch of people in chat are asking for a cam switch. Can we get an inside the tower view for an update?
Of course.
There you go.
Are all the tubes in or no? I think we're missing.
I got one more to go.
And that's it.
From here to here.
We're almost done. It's pretty much almost a lock here.
Go.
But looking good inside.
It does look good inside.
And I got this one guy right here to finish. So let's put it right there and we will be done.
I see EUK007 asked what's the maximum thickness of radiator that this case could accommodate on the top?
I would say you can, if you can put the 480 would fit, but it's gonna stick down like
I have an answer.
Much. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
So on the Corsair's
You have 'em
website,
more.
they say 360 on
Okay.
the top. On the top. In the front, you can go up to 480.
So the 480 would either go
And on the
here
side.
in this
And
section
on the side.
or here in
Yeah.
the front.
Correct. Yeah. According to Corsair's website.
Cool.
So. Oh, thickness, not length.
Yes, thickness. That's why I
Hold
went to the top. I referenced the top, meaning you could fit
Okay.
one, and you could put
Huh.
the thickness. The thickest radiator I've seen so far would be the 480 millimeter that we used in one system. But it came out like around that much. But you don't need more than one of those radiators because that radiator is more than capable of keeping the CPU and GPU cool. So if you have one of those, one is more than enough. But I would recommend to actually use it in the back section over here as opposed to the top. It made it much easier to use.
Hopefully that answers that question. I think it covered it though. Let's see.
And just Cloud V asked, and I know you have that spec sheet, Lewis. How
Yes.
much RAM are we putting in this build? Was it 32?
32 gigs at 4,000 megahertz.
There it is.
Here's
Full
a specs
specs of
image for
build right
everyone at
there.
home. So we want to take a screen cap, enjoy the time with the specs sheet. But that's pretty much actually looking at the image and looking at the actual build, we're really almost 1-to-1 here, or like almost a true replica. Like let's jump back and forth real quick. So we got PC build right there in the picture. It's really close to it. No kidding,
What do you
PJ.
mean really close? I told you it's a spitting image of the system. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this, my man. I'm telling you.
It's it.
I
That's
sat
the
back
destination.
I built the first one. I was done, and then after I built the first one, I started to prep this one as I was looking at the system we had built for Corsair. So I was looking back and forth, and even pictures that I took, I referenced pictures that I had taken of the system as well, just to make sure I wanted this to be just like the original. So if anybody was looking at that one, they would know that this is going to be just like it.
The Imagine Reality over on Twitch asks, do you guys have a ballpark price for the whole system? So I have one, but it's not a true precise one. So it's based on the Origin website. So if you customize your own PC on originpc.com, of course, it will be more expensive than you build it yourself. That's a fact. I'm not going to us oh, no. It's a fact. You can't get away
You're
from
paying for someone else to put it together for you. Like that costs labor.
Correct. So you have the labor, and of course you have the 24/7 support. You have our sales team, and it kind of takes the stress away. I know George was talking about earlier. It's if you have the time, or if you want to just get everything taken care of in one go, the Origin route is a solid route to consider. But that said, all of us here in the stream, we build PCs ourselves. There is a benefit to building on your own. But that's the Origin way. You get the Genesis, you pick the 7000X case, and you add the parts. And my estimation, don't quote me on it, but it's probably close to 4,200. And while for some people might, oh my gosh, you have to consider liquid cooling, 6900 XT, Ryzen 9 15900X, the labor. It's like all this stuff put together, and it should be close to that price point. If not, it might be a little higher, but it's definitely close to that price point. You can try, for those of you in chat, if you're curious, you want to go mess around, originpc.com, go to the Genesis section and start customizing. And if you take a screen cap of the specs sheet, here we go. You can try to get a good guesstimation. Let me put the specs sheet up if you guys can try to match it. So, and again, it's really important you add liquid cooling for both the CPU and the GPU, because sometimes on our configurator, we do have the option for just only the CPU to be liquid cooled and leave the GPU as a regular air cooling, or not air, but a heatsink cooling. So by all means, if you guys want to go ahead and do that, I won't stop you. So go
And
ham.
Gamesplay Chris in chat brought up a great point as well, that not only are you paying for the labor of someone else putting it together, but you're paying for that support, like one destination for support as well, which can be super helpful if you do have to troubleshoot.
Yep.
I see a question here from, let's see, is this, I'm sorry if I mess up your name. I think it says the Cassie Quest. Did I miss how the wiring in the back was done? I can't get all my fans' wires to look as clean. I have a Commander Core and Commander Pro 9 QL120 fans, and it's a struggle. 5000D airflow case.
So PJ's showing off that look there. You're muted, PJ.
Clean.
If you're asking for any advice or help, the one thing I can tell you is you're gonna have to sit down, and you're gonna need a lot of zen and patience. Anybody can do it. You can make it nice especially if you're just following the rails and everything else in the system. But you got to sit back and analyze what you're doing. Like if I have steps, if my personal advice of how I go about building my systems is the first cables that get ran in the system are any cables that go with the case. So my USB 3.0, 3.1 Type C, HD audio cables, power reset, all that is run first and zip tied. The next thing I'll go about doing is I install my fans. If I have to add the AIO to combo with the fans, you add the AIO too. Then wire all those up as well. Like if Lewis was able to go back and pull the whole video of me wiring the system up, you would notice that the last thing I put in was the power supply cables. My 24 pin, the CPU cables, everything else going last. I don't need to do any of that because I don't want that in my way. The less cables in my way, the better. Because my personal experience actually being by watching certain people build systems is they start putting everything in the system, and then once they turn around in the back to go start wiring everything up, they have this cluster of cables in their face. And I can understand 100% how your mind would just pop like, how am I going to do this? So don't allow yourself to do that. Take it step by step. Once you do that, you have more of a visual look, like where a plan of where you're going to run certain things. I can do this, or I can do this, or I can overlap these cables with this cable, because then you won't visibly see it. If you're not about the aesthetic looks like I am, just having everything streamlined and just basically neat running parallel to each other is perfectly fine. But if I can make my system not visually see any cables, that's my go-to.
That looks awesome, man. You're a pro.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm putting up the video again of the cable management because we were talking about cable management. So we're also going to hop over to our power supply video, which also has some cable management as well. So here's a quick little unboxing of the RM1000X power supply. PJ from the past.
That guy, man, that guy's taking all my shine, dude.
Yeah, he's put in a lot of work, didn't he? That PJ from the past.
I don't know about him, dude. We're gonna have to have a conversation with that guy.
All right, so going a little angle there. Some of the cable management. You can see some of the power cabling right there, actually.
All right.
Up close with the motherboard. So I think, and then there's that power supply. The little window. I like the window.
Yeah, that's
the
cool.
window before the stream. Just so it's a really cool way to showcase the power supply. So.
I see.
Stand over here now.
I see a question, PJ. When we come back to you, if you could show us. Maneth asks, where would be the draining location for maintenance for the specific loop that we're building?
The system does not have a drain loop.
Oh?
I don't particularly put drain loops in my systems. This one, I honestly don't feel it needs a drain. I can add a drain loop, but it doesn't necessarily need a drain. I can put one. I usually hear at the front, because if I do a particular system like this, I always add a soft tube fitting to add to the system itself. But that's how I would particularly drain the systems. The drain valve itself, I didn't see any particular spot that I would have liked to put it, but it's still very simple to drain these systems. You don't necessarily need to have the drain valve. I tried to build this system as best as possible where you didn't need to drain anything in order to do any maintenance. Or the maintenance would be, I'm sorry, my apologies, where the maintenance would be easy enough to not have to drain it. You can actually access to everything possible without having to drain the system.
Okay, well, and this actually leads perfectly into another question we have in chat from the Moose, who says, I've always been so scared of liquid cooling. And I mean, I'll throw myself in there as well, not just from a build perspective, but from a maintenance and later upgrade perspective. Are there any tips you have, PJ or Lewis, for a newbie to liquid cooling?
Patience. That's all I can. Patience, and do a lot of research as far as when it comes to making sure that all your components are put where they need to be put. CPU coolers aren't just basically you can sit them in any direction. There is an in and out port. You don't want to have that upside down, because then you have a conflict of the liquid pushing back against it. Corsair's blocks are actually cool, because if you want to have the inlet and outlet, in a different direction, you can take the shell off and flip it around. So visually, it doesn't look like you did anything, because it'll still look right side up. But you can have the inlet over here and the outlet over here. But basically, the section goes from this to this. Just doing your research, and maybe if you have anybody who can have help. I had help, thankfully, when I started doing this. It was I I thankfully had a group of people who had been doing it way before me. So when I started doing my first build, I had people like, looking over, double checking everything I was doing to make sure that nothing was going to leak at the time. I get that most people don't have that, but if you're able to do that, I would say your next best friend when doing a liquid cooling is actually going on
PJ.
YouTube, following someone like Jay's
PJ.
2 cents. Yes.
Closer, Mike. The people, they want to hear you.
Right, it's right there. It's on my face. um, yeah, like I said, you following YouTube streamers like Jay's 2 cents. That's a perfect example if you're looking to see if you can to do hardline tubing, because he has great tutorials on how to do step by steps on how to bend the tubes, how to heat them up, how to properly put them inside the fittings. It's not as hard as most people would think. I know a lot of people are scared about it, but I can honestly say the more nervous you are going into something you're doing, the more chances you will have of, causing some damage. I would say go into it with full confidence that you're going to get this thing done right. Because the more worried you are, that's the same thing about computer assembly. If you're scared about the components you're holding, the chances are you're going to break something. So go into it with 100% confidence. Like, I've never done this before, but I'm going to get it done right. It's going to come out the way I want it.
I will also emphasize the YouTube connection. Jay's, Bitwit, like all these guys online have so many tutorials online that you can access and learn yourself. Your first tubing doesn't have to be super over the top using super high end parts as much as you would love to. My recommendation would be get some tubes, start messing with it, and if you can, like Trisha was talking about a Frankenstein build earlier, what if you do a liquid cooled system with a Frankenstein build, like old parts that if for whatever reason you mess up, they won't be missed.
Absolutely. Or even start with soft tubes. Start fresh with soft tubes, so once you get the concept of how everything's supposed to be plugged in, then you can start playing with hard tubing. I would even say once you have go buy a heat gun in the kit and just play with them, and learn the bends yourself before you actually attempt to put it inside your computer yourself.
I see people on YouTube commenting like all the other tech tubers like Linus and Gamers Nexus. Don't worry, they're all out there. Don't worry. Don't come after me.
Are we ready?
I watched them all. Oh man, yeah, go do it. Go for it.
Are we ready?
So you're not gonna like shove paper towels all in there just in case?
What do I look like?
PJ's like ultimate confidence. You heard me.
Yeah, it's like you said. You got to go into it with 100% confidence, man.
No pressure.
Don't do as I say, not as I do. All right, here we go. Oh, look, it spilled. No, I'm kidding.
Everything. This is the only angle we got.
There it is.
The focus is primarily on PJ, but once he's out of the shot, you can probably get a good look at it.
All right. Let me bleed it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's off. There you go. And some more. That first cycle. I love Trisha's reaction, by the way. For those of you watching, you see in the bottom right.
Yeah, I'm like not even breathing. I haven't exhaled.
Don't worry, that was my reaction when we've done liquid cooled streams before, or liquid cooled PCs on stream before. I've had that same reaction, but now I'm used to it. So let me check something really quick. I think you're doing some cleanup there.
Uh-huh.
PJ, if you want, I don't know if you want to get the Epoch Cam, awaken it so we can get.
I'm trying to get the Epoch Cam running, but unfortunately, it is. I think I locked it.
Okay, don't worry. We have another camera on standby just in case. Let me take a look at that one. Yeah, that camera's still good.
There's some really interesting liquid cooling questions in chat. McKeel said, why use 90-degree bends when 2 45-degree bends reduce the amount of friction the liquid encounters as it flows around the corner?
PJ.
Preference? More of a preference. Not any, there's no particular reason why. I just... Ooh. Spilled a little from the tube.
Oh, man.
A little came out of the...
Gunmetal 88 says, how often would you have to change the fluid in a liquid cooled setup? Do you prefer coolant or distilled water?
I prefer coolant. I would do it maybe once every 6 months safely. Most people say 6 months. Some people actually tell you, you can leave it in there for about a year and a year is fine. But I would say if you have the capability to do it every 6 months, it would keep it cool. You don't necessarily want to have any corrosion inside, because then the corrosion itself you can't prevent from damaging your tubes. Then it starts to look ugly.
Hold on, everyone's like freaking out over what's going on. So PJ, just explain what you were doing, because I think no one caught it, but he was shaking the liquid cooler or the coolant, and some of it kind of spritzed.
Yeah, that's why I want to move this so I can get it out of the way. But it's fine.
Do I see any leaks? No. So
Let
you
me
there, little commenter? I know you're there. There are no leaks. It's there. It's clean. Keep your kappas to yourself, friend. All right. So that is the build. I can't believe it. We somehow managed with 5 minutes under the clock. So let's talk some giveaways real quick. The 3 giveaways that we're currently running, and then do a little bit of teasing for the end, because the end is coming. I can't believe it. We've been here. The total stream has been about close to 2 hours and 55 minutes. Trisha, you've been on the whole thing, so you're a trooper. Our section's been 2 hours, but you've been on the whole thing. So hats off to Trisha, everyone.
This has been delightful for me. Thank you so much. I mean, I got to be here for the product announcements, which was awesome in the beginning. And then, like I said, I love watching live builds. So I would have just been here over on Twitch by myself, not on camera, and having great conversation with you guys if I wasn't here. So it was my distinct honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being with us as well. That was very, very cool to have you with us.
Thank you, guys. This is awesome. And that build looks just stunning. And huge shout out. I know people were saying it in chat. Huge shout out to the Origin PC build team, Lewis and PJ. You guys are awesome. PJ being able to answer questions, show us and teach us what you're doing, and do the build all at the same time. MVP, my friend.
Thank you.
Now there's your peel. There's your super peel. Bam. Excellent. So what about, for those of you in chat wondering, oh man, that case looks really cool, but what if I have a chance to enter to win that case? Well, have I got a surprise? Well, not surprise, but the first 3 giveaways. First up, if you go to originpc.com/CORSAIR live, you can enter 3 giveaways. They are all live for only 24 hours each, and all 3 giveaways are currently open. So the first one is for a white Corsair IQ 7000X RGB full tower case, which is the same case that PJ, as you saw here, right there. That's the case. No parts inside, though. The second giveaway, which you can enter for, is the black 7000D airflow case, plus an IQ H170i Elite Capellix liquid CPU cooler, which is a cool little combo there. So we're talking about cooling and radiators. Well, there you go. You got a nice little all-in-one cooling unit right there. And that's the one that was announced today earlier by George over at Corsair. So 2 new products in 1 excellent giveaway package. And finally, from our friends over at AMD and ASUS, an AMD Ryzen 5 5600X, an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT, and ASUS ROG Strix B5500F motherboard. Quite the combo. That's a good starter pack to get you started on your PC build. Those 3 giveaways are now live for 24 hours. So act fast. If you're watching, go do it. I know some of you were here earlier in the stream were like, I want to enter the giveaway, but somehow congratulations, guys. Give yourselves a pat on the back. You somehow managed to take down that giveaway application, but it's up and running again, so give it your best shot again. That's a challenge, so good luck. I know a lot of you already entered though, so you're good. But again, this is exclusive for those of you watching the stream and the VOD, so make sure you're entering in 24 hours. We will close off the giveaways and contact the winners via email, not over stream, it's over email. I think that's
I have
it.
the Epoch cam working again.
All right, Epoch cam's good. Let's take a closer look at the build. Give me a second here. Let me whoop. All right. So let's look at the other side of the case with all the panels removed.
Got all your fans here working. Let me scoot this monster back up.
Beautiful.
I like the Epoch Cam close look at it, to be honest.
Don't mind this. You allow the air to bleed out of the system, so all the bubbles will pop out of the system.
It's almost
Yeah,
30
shout out
seconds
to
to
Epoch
3
Cam
o'clock.
again. Available on the App Store now, friends. And CamLink Pro for folks with DSLRs that want to do a similar thing.
You know, all this building, and I've been wondering, who is this PC for? Trisha,
It's
do
for
you
me.
know
I
who this
told you, I'm
PC
taking it
No,
home
it's
when I'm
not
done
for
with
you,
it.
PJ. It's
Yes,
not
it
for
is,
you.
dude. Yes, it is.
It's not for you.
I worked my butt off, and yeah, I'm taking it home.
It's not yours.
Come on,
Do you
man.
want to know?
Let me
Do
have
you want to know?
something.
Well,
You're
I
mean,
mean,
Lewis.
if it's
You're
not,
mean.
if it's not going home with PJ, and Lewis, it's not going home with you.
Nope.
And I know I'm not walking away with this. I think now is the moment when we're allowed to say it. Yes.
It is. It is past 3 o'clock.
Okay, the final giveaway, everybody. It's a massive worldwide giveaway. And the prize? This beautiful PC that PJ just finished building on stream. So congrats to everybody who guessed that in the stream so far. But this is an Origin PC Genesis desktop built using a Corsair 7000X case powered by an AMD Ryzen CPU, AMD Radeon RX GPU, and Asus motherboard. Woot, woot, woot. So to
It's
enter
the same
this
one.
giveaway, which I'm sure everyone right now is like, I got to enter. Please go ahead.
Yes,
and
you got to
continue
enter.
posted
You need to enter right now.
right now. So
Right
the
now.
mods in chat are going to post a link for your chance to sign up to win this super epic liquid cooled system that we just watched being built. And if for whatever reason on the platform you're watching, you can't see the link, go to originpc.com/Corsair live giveaway for all the details, including the rules. And for this one, you will have until July 14th to enter. So you got
Correct.
some time.
So, Lewis, let's see if I hold my record still. You ready?
Here we go. There you go. I was worried for a second there. You got it. It posted. All right. I bet you after, Trisha did the reveal for the PC giveaway, I'm pretty sure Psychic might go down. But you guys have plenty of time for this giveaway to enter. So if for whatever reason something happens to the giveaway application or website, you have until July 14th to enter. This is open, of course, worldwide. 7000X case. This PC, it's right here on stream.
This
it's just
one,
a fun little surprise.
This guy right here. This
it's
pretty
that
guy.
one.
Absolutely gorgeous.
So one lucky winner will be getting
gorgeous.
that.
So nice. So, I mean, with that final giveaway reveal, oh, look at it. Can you fit the side on? This is always my cable management nightmare. Of course you can, because you're a pro. Of course you can, PJ. But yeah, with that giveaway reveal, that about wraps up today's stream. So we revealed brand new products, including the Corsair 7000 series case, a new iQ H170i Elite Capellix cooler. I got it right that time. And we had an awesome chat with Jay's 2 cents and George Makris a little earlier. We had, as Lewis mentioned, all those giveaways during the stream earlier. And then, of course, we just watched PJ put together this beautiful live build for us using the 7000X case. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, PJ. Thank you, everybody who watched on all the different platforms that you guys are watching on. Thanks to our partners, AMD and Asus. Lewis and PJ, any parting words from the Origin team?
Yes, absolutely. Well, number one, for those of you that want to follow Trisha on her platform, you can follow her on twitter.com/thatgirl. The girl, there's no I in girl. Trisha. So twitter.com/thatgirl Trisha. The I in girl is gone, but you can go follow her there.
That girl,
Trisha, you did.
Trish.
Yeah, girl, Trish. Excellent job, Trisha. I can't it was awesome to have you on board for the full, thing. And it's always fun to have a guest on to live builds and talk about PC hardware and just, general gaming stuff in general. And you're great.
Great time.
It's always fun to build with other people. I love sharing that experience, and just being here, kind of, just being able to lurk while you guys did the build was super fun for me. So thank you so much. And I feel like I learned a ton about liquid cooling, which was also super awesome. So thank you, PJ, and thank you, Lewis. This was fantastic. And then one last reminder to everybody who is watching this right now. We mentioned this earlier, but Jay's 2 cents is posting a 7000 case unboxing video on his YouTube channel, and he was going to hold that until this stream ends. So it's probably live right now-ish. So go ahead and check that out right now that's Jay's with a Z 2 cents over on that YouTube channel. So check it out. And as for our viewers from all over, we're so glad that you joined us today. This was awesome. And I hope that you enjoyed the stream and the live build and hanging out. And thank you for all of your awesome questions. Don't forget to follow both Corsair and Origin PC. And yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm Trisha Hirschberger, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.